All right, we are live, and StreamYard tells me there are 0 people watching. Oh, 936. I like that number better.
There we go.
Very interesting. And today, it's been a while, but we have a celebrity in our midst.
Thank you. I don't like the term celebrity. I prefer more like icon.
No, yeah. We have with us the current #1 Grifties candidate.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Go, Nikki! Go, Nikki! It's your birthday! Go, Nikki!
So everybody go to grifties.com and make sure you throw a little bit of support. And folks, we got to pick it up here. Viva Fry's dropped out of the top 10. We cannot have that. That's just so everybody get there. You can vote.
Amber Heard?
Viva Fry.
How is he above? How is that? That is a travesty.
The worst thing is that Justin Trudeau is higher than Viva Fry, and that cannot stand.
That has to be the thing that's getting to him right now. That's got to be like just really getting to him.
Guys, you don't understand. If Viva loses to Justin Trudeau, his hair will leave orbit. It will just keep going. It won't stop.
But then the people might want that, so we better not encourage it.
His hair will shrink back down and go inside. It'll be even worse.
Ow. All right, well, to keep up to the theme of the grift, I'm happy to say I have a sponsor. And good news is it's actually something that I believe in, use. I think LegalBytes, you use them, correct?
I do indeed.
And that would be ExpressVPN. Now, most people in this crowd should be familiar with a VPN and what it does. And if you're not, you need to get familiar with it, because if you've ever been tracked around the internet because you were searching for something, have you guys ever read about that case with Target? There was a girl and Target sent her diapers coupons in the mail, and her father was saying, wait, what? What the hell's going on? You're sending my, and I think she was like 16-year-old daughter, diaper coupons. And well, guess what? It turned out that the AI, because of her traffic patterns, knew that she was pregnant just by the searching, just by her address being out there. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They mailed it to them. So keep this in mind. Your IP address.
Congratulations.
Yes. That lawsuit went away. So your address is out there. It's advertised all the time. It's called an IP address. Your computer has it just like your physical address in the house. What ExpressVPN does for you is it acts as an intermediary or mail forwarder, as Rob has said. Essentially, when you go to the internet, instead of going directly to a site, you're going to ExpressVPN servers, of which they are just about everywhere in the world. I think it's 94 countries. You could choose one, and your traffic will come out from their servers. More importantly, they will actually encrypt their logs, and they get rid of the logs. This is important too, because a VPN can stand between you and other people, but then the VPN can be subpoenaed with the logs, and well, guess what? All your traffic is right there again. So they get rid of the logs, they encrypt the traffic, and they have high-powered servers to make sure your internet does not actually slow down. There's a link below in the description. I hope you guys consider checking it out. It's 3 months free, so pretty much no risk. Thank you very much, and thanks, ExpressVPN.
And just remember, if you are someone who is out there having wanton, rampant, unprotected sexual intercourse to the point where you are getting pregnant and don't want your family to know, make sure you use ExpressVPN.
Right. And you see, now that's a very limited advertisement you gave there, because I know I'm not pregnant. So no, I would.
Oh, do you?
Are you sure, Joe?
Well, you were
I'm like sure.
Joe, I've been talking to lots of men lately who can definitely become pregnant. So
well, at least one of them seemed to be cycling.
I was gonna go a whole different direction. I was like, if you consider yourself MAGA, you've basically been identified by the president as an enemy of the state. And that's so like 48% of you, like if you don't have ExpressVPN, pretty much they know where you live. So You might want to consider having it bounce through Zimbabwe. In fact, I actually saw that my CPMs, my highest CPMs were from Zimbabwe. And I was like, how could that possibly be? And then I was like, oh, that's what it is. It's people using ExpressVPN. So there you go. My highest CPMs come from Zimbabwe. I recommend if you can choose your country, great country. So
fantastic.
Either Definitely. that or like the president of Zimbabwe is watching all of your stuff, like the one who actually owns everything in Zimbabwe
on all of his computers.
He's a big Good Logic fan.
Yeah, well, obviously, that's my target market right there. So,
well, Joe, there you go.
I don't know what that means.
That was a disturbing super chat from Kyle.
Yeah, that's
what that means. It was
kind of freaky.
Yeah.
I need ExpressVPN. Where's that link?
Good for you, Kinky Don. Definitely.
But let's talk about law. I want to talk about the Marilyn Manson case. I just did a 2-hour live stream talking about the latest developments.
What, did something
Rob
happen?
and Eric, I know you guys talked about it yesterday. My mind is just completely blown. I am going insane thinking about this, like what just happened in that case, because like we're talking about lawyer ethics, lawyers lying about things. Like, I mean,
Alita,
I'm an Arrested Development fan, so I know, lawyers I'm a liar. But like,
no, slow down, back up.
I don't know
because I'm pretty sure that Joe has zero effing clue what you're talking about.
No idea.
Joe does.
I doubt Nick has covered it. Like, slow down.
Joe, there's this guy called Marilyn Manson.
Okay. All right.
He
He's
sings
a rock
Sweet
star.
Dreams.
Okay. All right.
His song "Sweet Dreams" may go with that tweet or that chat earlier.
All right. Marilyn Manson. I'm taking notes. Go on.
You're taking notes. Good for you.
He put over a grate with a skirt on, and it
Rob, go ahead. You break it down because
let me just do the factual background.
Let me just say this. Lawyers lying about things that can be demonstrably proven.
Right. You're spoiling it.
And
you're spoiling it.
I just know I'm not spoiling it. I'm teasing it. Okay, let's go back to the beginning now.
All right. J.
Rob, take over.
J. Ellwanger is an attorney that represents two of the people that are suing Marilyn Manson, saying Marilyn Manson did SA and all these kinds of things to me. J. Ellwanger, say the name 3 times. J. Ellwanger. I'm calling him J. Ellwanger from now on, especially because he's earned it with this last motion.
And he
represents two of the individuals, Esme and Ashley. Yeah, Esme and Ashley. So Esme is the chief plaintiff, Ashley second plaintiff.
Trivia: Esme is from Game of Thrones, and that was Tyrion's lover, however you want to put it. So if anybody wants to know who she is,
Shay.
Yeah, Shay. Yeah,
right.
Oh,
they've got anti-slap motions coming up, and they're
he represents both.
Her and another client, which is very weird to me.
Represents but is an interesting word that we'll just kind of put an asterisk on it for now.
Just put it like an asterisk next to it. We'll get to that. We'll put it at the bottom of the footnote. He represents.
Before you go further, I just want to say facially that's not necessarily a problem. In fact, the lawyer going after Deshaun Watson has like 26, 50, 30 clients, 50 clients. He actually actively searches out new clients to go after Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's a class, though, isn't it?
You have a conversation. You have a conversation with both of them. You have them sign a waiver.
Guys, it's Roz, not Shay. Roz.
Yeah.
Oh, he's representing Roz. I'm 1,000% more interested. Tell me more.
Who's Roz?
Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Joe, Roz is a great character in Game of Thrones. Probably the best character.
You see a lot of her.
Actually, Roz is the main character in Game of Thrones.
Fire up ExpressVPN and do searches. Just
Roz is the most important and only character. In fact, I haven't seen any other characters in Game of Thrones. I thought it was a one-woman show.
Okay.
And note to the chat that's
Fun
saying
fact,
I'm not letting Joe rant. I'm waiting for it.
I have never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones, but let's move on. So he's representing both of these, and yes, you can have a conflict waiver where they each sign. They say, yeah, I fully understand that a conflict could come up and blah blah blah. So that's possible. But so in one of their cases, the other one is a third party, and Marilyn Manson's attorney is trying to get Ashley Morgan Smithline, the third party, to come in for a deposition. They've noticed a deposition, not noticed, sorry. They've served her a subpoena because she's a third party.
So he's trying to get his own client come in for a deposition?
No, Manson's
attorneys.
Oh, okay.
Ellwanger. Okay, there's Howard King is the lead of Manson's counsel.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay Ellwanger is one of the lawyers for accusers. He represents Esme Bianco and Ashley Morgan Smithline.
Okay.
Both. This is dealing with the Esme Bianco's case, which has proceeded farther than any others. They're trying to get depositions. Manson is the defense. Howard King needs to depose Ashley Morgan Smithline as a witness because their defense is collusion between these different women who are accusing.
Mm-hmm.
So he has subpoenaed her to come in. She did not come in. This was not in the news. And then a couple weeks later, after that first date, just this past week, Jay Ellwanger or somebody leaked that he was trying to separate from his client because she was incorrigible or whatever the term was, but an impossible client, I think, or something like that. It was in all the headlines, radar, all these things. But it turns out, and this is a bit of a spoiler because I actually was DMing with Ashley Morgan Smithline, or she DM'd me. She's not a fan of mine. I will say that. I am blocked now. But she expressed that, and everything I'm telling you came out in court documents now too, that she in fact fired Jay Ellwanger in April.
Wait, what?
And she was supposedly delayed for the trial because of an emergency psychiatric treatment, flying from London to Los Angeles to get treatment, according to her lawyer and the emails going back and forth. She has expressly denied getting any emergency psychiatric care, has said this SOB, she said many colorful things about him, has been fired since April, and she sent receipts to Howard King. Mm-hmm. Howard King has filed all this with the court. And if anyone is interested, I have a 96-page document of all the receipts.
Text messages between her and Jay Ellwanger talking about, no, you don't represent me. Like, I fired you. I don't want you representing me anymore. What do I need to do? What needs to happen in order for this to happen? And then he's like, oh no, you're a plaintiff in a federal case. It's not that simple. Blah, 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 blah. Who's your other attorney that's going to be representing you? I need to represent that to the court before I can do anything else. And basically trying to pressure her to stay. I know it's not true. And so just trying to pressure her into staying into this attorney-client relationship. He's like a bad boyfriend who's just trying to keep her there, basically.
Yes.
And then representing to opposing counsel and the court, by the way, saying that he represents her. They literally they point blank asked. They said, hey, in May, it's back in May, they were like, hey, by the way, we just got a weird voicemail from Miss Smithline saying that she fired you and you no longer represent her.
In July, Howard King was asking him in July.
May.
Yep. What? Oh, okay.
This is May.
I will tell you. If you look through this thread, Howard King has set this up every step of the way to get Ellwanger to hang himself.
Wow.
And Ellwanger filed and sent discovery responses after being discharged. Filed a motion to continue a deposition after being discharged, purported to say that his client was seeking psychiatric treatment after being discharged, sought to continue a deposition after being discharged, filed a motion to continue the deposition, formal motion with the court after being discharged, and filed a motion to withdraw, citing irreconcilable conflict with his client, all after being discharged being the operative word because she said you're effing fired. That's the evil laugh I wanted right there.
And a good time
fire me,
tip.
you bitch! I'm gonna file all this stuff on you.
Oh my!
And
Anyway,
the thing is,
so
the
I guess
way
that's
the
a
way
bar
that
complaint.
the
You
way
think?
that he
You think?
and the way that he informed opposing counsel that he was no longer going to be representing her was that he said, okay, so you know how I promised you that I was going to get a doctor's note from the psychiatric hospital proving that she was there, that was the reason why she couldn't show up for the deposition. So for reasons of ethical confidentiality issues, just like very blandly says that, vaguely says that, says, I can't provide the note to you. And because of that, I have to withdraw. And so basically the subtext of that is like, she lied to me about being at a hospital. She told me that she was there, but she lied to me. So like he's totally throwing her under the bus.
He's like
To
quadruple down
opposing
on
counsel.
this.
Oh, it's just so dirty.
But like the
There's so
the
many
receipts
things
are
about it.
basically the receipts of the texts and emails basically show that this guy is is just like hip deep in feces.
Like
Just
Jail
rounding it up.
Wanger is a very appropriate name.
Yeah. No, it's he's so gross in my opinion. After reading through this opposition and all the text messages and emails, it's awful.
I love that his name is L. Wanger.
56, I think.
Let's just skip around because it took a while to go through. So let me go find some
57.
texts.
57 was a good one.
57. All right.
Oh,
57 pages in, nothing's on.
92 pages of this, guys. We went through it all last night.
wow.
Yeah,
All right.
I just went through it on my channel too. It's nuts.
Here we go. This is the text exchanges between Ashley Morgan Smith Line speaking to somebody on Howard King's staff and copying in, her exchanges with Jay.
Yeah, do the Zoomy thing.
Why'd
What's
she
the-
send a picture of
Of an oven.
a stove?
That's
Yeah.
so it's
I
not.
think it's
It's a video.
Yeah.
It's a video. I
he
think
said-
she. Yeah, guy.
Oh.
Go ahead.
He said, I don't trust the text
reading this.
messages. This isn't like you. And then she apparently recorded herself on a video saying, "This is me, you prick. I'm discharging you. You're fired."
I
that's why
thought
you
maybe
see the
she
picture.
said.
Great.
I thought maybe she fired her lawyer and said the ovens are coming or something horrible.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would be epic.
I thought, look, don't
I
talk
mean,
to me
Joe and
about
I
a
are on
horrible
this-
person.
No.
Horrible person in ovens. That's wrong.
Right, Joe
That's
and I
just
are on the
wrong.
same page. We're like, "Whoa, you're sending a lawyer an
very-
oven? That's
I
not
was
good."
I was starting to actually side with him for a
no,
second.
I can't believe it.
It took these two above like an extra 12 seconds to get to where you and I went to right away, Nick.
Joe,
It's
Joe
not
and I
yellow
are
yet, guys.
Swimming
I can't
in
believe
horror.
we're not yellow. We're not yellow yet. Unbelievable.
We haven't said anything. We've been really good.
Okay. Well, no, I'm surprised. As soon as we get into the
Hold
other
on,
talk, I'm like,
let me
okay.
get started.
All right. So here we go. I fired him in April. So what, was he just lying to use your name because of the lawsuit? God, I hate this guy. Chuck, here we go. And we'll zoom in on her exchange with Jay. Here's what Alita was talking about. The passive aggressive shit. Ashley, it's
scroll
not
down-
that simple. You have a
Scroll
federal
down
court.
further, you'll get bigger versions that people can
Oh.
see.
Yeah, this is the one that she copied and pasted.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
okay,
is
hang on.
yeah, she had sent
you
screenshots
go.
to this other
You're
person.
there.
Yeah. You can go up a little bit further. Yeah. Oh, yep.
Okay,
back
hold
down.
on. There we go.
There you go.
There, sorry, guys. Okay. And look at this language. Ashley, it's not that simple. You have a federal court lawsuit pending. I'm not sure who is writing these text messages, but it doesn't sound like you. We need to speak on the phone. Why do you want to speak on the phone, Jay? Why is that? I mean, it wouldn't be so we wouldn't have a document of what was actually said, right? I mean, am I projecting a little bit?
No, I mean that sounds like if somebody doesn't want these communications to be written down, you do it over the phone.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Please don't fire me. Please keep me on as counsel. I must be your attorney.
I
spoke
will
with
use
her.
all of my tactics to intimidate you, and I don't want it to be in writing.
He spoke with her over the phone. He spoke with Esme Bianco over video chat, though.
He probably recorded the latter.
I don't know. He could have spoken to her on the phone and said, "What are you wearing?"
Oh no.
Hey,
more
it's your
ethical
favorite lawyer.
responsibilities of the attorney-client relationship implicated with that.
See, look at, he desperately wants to get on the phone with her. Given your past situation with your stalker and the complete change in your position after over a year of representing you, I'm uncomfortable communicating with you further. I wonder what position she's changing. Curious.
Probably not into position that he was looking for. So,
and here we go. Going on. Your plaintiff, if you fire me, you'll have to hire another lawyer to replace me or represent yourself pro se in the lawsuit. So a little bit of threats in here, and the judge would have to approve the motion. I don't care. No, this is interesting part, and Rob pointed out, I didn't even think about it. I don't care about the media and your case. You wanted me to find a producer and director to do a documentary movie about you. So I did. They emailed me today, by the way. This guy.
I have a little carrot. I have a carrot for you. This is why you should stay in the relationship.
Well, how about the fact that he goes, I don't care about the media and your case? Like,
it's kind of a problem.
Generally speaking.
That's why you're fired.
Fucking prick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. That's right. Somebody in the chat reminded me. She pointed out the fact that it's ironic that a Me Too lawyer can't take the word no.
I'm going back. Oh, God.
All right. So to continue, so he was setting something up with documentary, and then the CNN piece is off because they're shutting down CNN Plus. And you went to this People magazine before you ever hired me. This is craziness. Here we go again. I am looking to discharge you. This is April 26th still. Please let me know when it's done and what needs to happen.
I say that to my Colt 1911 all the time. I'm looking to discharge you.
Several times.
Oh.
Now, to be fair.
Wait, but
when it comes to replacing counsel, normally what happens if you fire someone and you're in active litigation, the judge will basically decide, okay, if the judge's concern is delay tactic, they may be demanding. They'll allow you to change your counsel. They're not gonna make you keep an attorney you don't want. But what they will
the
do
judge has to know.
Right. Well, normally you have to file a notice with the judge. Sometimes if you want to fire your own client, which frequently attorneys do, and if you're a smart attorney and you've never fired a client, if you're a smart attorney and you've been practicing for more than a decade, you've almost certainly fired a client here or there, because along the way you just find things that you're just like, I can't deal with this. But if with respect to how that works in court is normally if you fire a client, you have to, move to withdraw and explain your reasons why. When a client is firing, they can fire someone, but they need to have someone. Frequently, the judge will say, okay, we'll give you 30 days to find replacement counsel and have them get caught up to speed. It depends on the status of where you're at with respect to discovery, how close you are to trial. They don't want to have gamesmanship with respect to the trial. You've seen otherwise, Rob, in your jurisdiction.
There's an exception, Joe. When a judge says, when a client says you are fired, you are terminated, you have lost any right provided by the client to do shit on their behalf. You cannot file anything. You cannot do anything. You get your ass out of that case when they fire you.
It happens immediately. You're right. The termination happens immediately. The client gets 30 days. That's my point. This is a lie. Yeah. This is to say I need to represent who your new attorney is just not true. You can simply the court will normally give you a period of time, usually of 30 days. If things are a tight deadline, they might shorten that in order to enable your new counsel to catch up. Time to review the file, catch up on everything that's been happening throughout litigation. But you're right. What Rob said here is completely correct, in that the moment that happens, that the application is made by the client, you cannot represent to the court. You're representing them, obviously. That's
well, you got to at least tell the court, Joe. He didn't tell them. I mean, it's April to August. We got this little missing timeline here. The court doesn't even know.
Yeah. But there's also a little bit of a gray area to that rule, though, because if withdrawing completely would put that client into a severely disadvantageous position, like you have to disclose that to the other individuals, right? Because you can't have the opposing party or the judge thinking that you are making representations for the client without realizing that they've actually fired you. If you communicate to them, you're supposed to communicate to them saying, yeah, I'm no longer representing this client, but for the purposes of this hearing that's tomorrow, I'm not going to leave them hanging high and dry. Like, there are some times when you actually kind of have to go, even handing over the file to the client saying, I no longer have this file. I'm just here as a placeholder to make sure that they're not screwed by the fact that suddenly there's a vacant position.
The hearing wasn't tomorrow. The hearing
No, I know.
4 months after your ass was fired.
The gray area that I'm talking about doesn't exist in this situation.
Please, to be fair, it sometimes takes me a while to get back to emails too.
Speaking of which, okay, we've got a subject in the room. We'll go back to this case too, but Nick, what the hell happened?
Oh, beats me. Beats me. I don't actually know the exact reason for my strike. So if people don't know, yes, I have a second strike on my YouTube channel. My first strike was completely bogus. I am still fighting against it to get it removed because for 90 days, you have this cool little cloud looming over you. And I shouldn't. According to YouTube's own policies, which they modified after George Floyd was summarily executed, or however you want to word it, it doesn't really matter. But after George Floyd died on camera and the whole world watched it, YouTube decided that you could actually show people dying on camera so long as you weren't doing it for the purposes of shocking and horrifying your audience, which I don't actually ever do. I don't try to shock and horrify people except with very offensive jokes. But so my first strike, I showed an Australian mall fight where a guy is grainy and far away, and it happens in an instant. The guy gets his throat slashed and he ends up dying. But it's far away, and it's a disturbing video for sure. But the guy doesn't even know that he's dead. And he sprays a little blood out on the floor, and then he falls over and just collapses. And so I accompanied that video with tons of context about how senseless violence, how young men's pride leads to senseless violence, which leads to pointless death. And how nothing on earth is worth a fight in a mall and dying with no dignity over some BS. And young men do it all the time. So that apparently was my intention to shock and disgust my audience, was a 40-second clip out of a 5-hour live stream accompanied by about 10 to 15 minutes of commentary. But that being said, my current strike is for cyberbullying, stalking, and harassment. I'm not sure what. Yeah, it's a Keffels thing. It's from the Keffels video, which I had actually pulled down off of YouTube. If you don't know, you can get a strike for something that is pulled down off of YouTube. I did know that. But I pulled it down because I knew it would get mass flagged. It got mass flagged anyway, but I'm not sure what specific thing in the video is the cause of the strike. My partner manager emailed me this morning and says that she is appealing it on the back end. I have not appealed it yet because I will not appeal any more strikes without knowing the exact reason I was struck and with a timestamp. So until I get that, I'm not touching anything. But my last strike was 1 week and lasted 10 days. So this strike is now 2 weeks. I'm sure it will last, infinity amounts of time. I have no idea.
So I want to ask you a question, and you might not have thought about this yet, but what you were saying is it's a very scary threat. The idea that your channel can be nuked if they decide that they don't like something you say anytime in the next 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I also noticed yesterday, if you're not following Rekieta Law yet on Rumble, make sure that you are following him there because he was streaming there last night. And I was going to ask you, assuming that you don't win this appeal, are you going to risk streaming on YouTube, or are you just going to stay with Rumble? Because I saw that people were following you to Rumble, and
we had a great turnout, even though YouTube doesn't actually let me communicate.
4 in the morning or something, like 4,000 at 4 in the morning. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on. You go.
Yeah, no. The best part of strikes is YouTube doesn't allow you any effective means to communicate with your audience. Mm-hmm. Just to tell them, hey, by the way, the reason I'm not uploading for 14 days isn't because I'm dead. It's because YouTube won't let me upload. They won't even let you say that. They won't let you tell people you have a strike. even through a community post. So I think that's a terrible practice, and YouTube, well, I won't say a whole bunch on this channel. But long story short,
it's deliberate. And Nick, I mean, Gavin McInnes talked about that.
Right.
Because when he got deplatformed for everything, he was saying the beauty of deplatforming you from everything is you can't answer.
Yep.
So they can say anything they want about you. Anybody can create any content they want about you, Nick, right now, and you cannot respond. You're just literally in the void. And guess what? Everybody can make a video trashing you and then say,
and everybody who wants to start a YouTube channel
should.
If you want to start a YouTube channel, start with a video trashing me. I fully endorse it. 100%. It'll be super fun.
This is why he's king of the grifties.
but that all being said, to answer your question, Joe, my first, like, with basically no announcement, going to Rumble was very encouraging. I think we peaked at 4,700 people last night. And as I keep streaming, I think that'll keep going up over there. I may start streaming on YouTube before the 90-day on the first strike is gone. We'll see. But I do know this, whatever the outcome, there will be much more Rumble and Odyssey exclusive content coming and less YouTube streaming coming, because I'm just tired of being jerked around by it. And it's I've been in talks with Rumble for a very long time, trying to work something out, and we'll see where those go. Mm-hmm. But I'm really sick of this nebulous idea that they can just shut off your entire business model, because some weirdo on YouTube or on Twitter lies about what you said and gets thousands of people to flag your channel.
And by the way, to the chat, because a lot of people are like, "Who's Nick?" They may or may not know you. A lot of them are in here for the Manson coverage. This is the kind of thing that can happen very easily with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard deal. There's a whole Reddit thread where instructions were given on how to go after channels.
Yep.
And I have the dubious honor. I'm on that list with two other people who are on that same list. They're in different sections. I'm unfortunately low on the list, so it takes them a while to get to me. Hopefully they read slow. But anyway, this is a very real concern that they can use and just false flag, strike at a channel. And YouTube doesn't question it. They just take it down. They just have an algorithm. And then when you appeal it, they tell you, oh, after careful consideration, we've declined to get there. And you're like, oh, really? I looked at the video count. Nobody watched it. Mm-hmm. There's no other plays. How did that happen? It's miraculous. You somehow managed to move a video without any trace, any plane, or anything else. And you're saying, oh, no, after careful consideration,
yep,
we've decided to keep that strike up. And you have no recourse, nothing else.
Except Twitter. Twitter is the one place that is sometimes effective at removing strikes. Believe it or not, like, YouTube is such a wishy-washy bitch on this stuff that you can go to Twitter and get enough people to tweet, and that will sometimes get them to change the strike that they've already carefully reviewed and denied reversing. It's amazing. It's such a cesspool. I hate it.
By the way, this problem with YouTube that you're talking about has been happening with people far larger than your channel.
Oh, yeah.
Corey X Kenshin has 7 million followers, and he has a whole video where he's alleging that YouTube is racist because he showed, he's a gamer, I believe, and he showed a gaming stream which involved a woman harming herself, and
others did too, and they didn't get strike.
Right. Mm-hmm. He didn't get a strike, but it got the next thing right below a strike, which is age restricted, which means almost no one will see it because they won't share it out, and no one's going to know about it, and it's just it really harms the revenue. So, what he noticed is that other people who were not black were showing similar imagery from the same game and were not getting age restricted. And he had asked them to review it. They reviewed it. They said, no, this is age restricted. His manager went into them and they said it's age restricted. And then he's like, well, I found this other person who's doing it and they're not age restricted. And I got to wonder why that is. And then they took off his age restriction, and that made him angrier. He's like, I thought they would put an age restriction on them.
And then they did. When he talked to his partner and complained about it, then they said, oh, and so they struck both videos, his and the other person. It's so capricious. But Joe,
Yeah, I
Nate-
didn't mean to interrupt Nick when he was explaining his story. I just wanted to point out that the wishy-washiness is something that's not simply reserved for people that they deem objectionable per se. It's just they're an ass-backward company. I mean,
And a big reason for that is this was disclosed to me by someone at YouTube. Probably they shouldn't have, but YouTube's community guidelines is actually not serviced by YouTube employees. Community guidelines, believe it or not, the thing that literally measures whether or not we get to stay on the platform is done by third-party companies, often not in the United States. And so is the review process in many cases as well. And if you want to know why that's an issue, it's because we have a language that is full of idiomatic and hyperbolic phrases that don't have literal meanings behind them. And if you are not a native English speaker, and particularly a native American speaker in terms of us, but of course a native like Mexican speaker in terms of a Mexican streamer, because Mexico and Peru have very different Spanishes, for example. If you're not a native American speaker, then you will not, American English speaker, you will not know what idioms or what hyperbole or what memes actually are. And you can very easily take something the wrong way and apply that as some sort of, horrific thing that's being said when it's not at all horrific.
You mean like your guest last week?
Oh,
earlier this week? No,
Yes.
no, it was just fun watching the reaction.
McLeod.
But you would just throw in, oh my God, that's just so funny to listen to, because he has that Tweety, oh my God, it was just cracking me up. And you would deliberately just throw shit out there. It's just you never even go that hot on your own stream. It's just too funny.
I've never seen Nick do this and wait patiently, and just you can look at him so amped up,
like
and
waiting,
just ready.
He was like,
just
pause.
Oh, you want to go there? And I'm like, oh, this is so good.
It was great.
That was a fun stream.
And by the way, Joe, to your point, I have the Nate and Eric channel with Nate the Lawyer, right?
No, tell us about it. I don't know anything about it.
All right, fantastic channel, Nate the Lawyer. It's called Nate and Eric. We put a lot of time and thought into the channel name.
Love it.
We sent out surveys, everything else, and finally it came back Nate and Eric. We have a video on there that YouTube deemed to be 18 plus. And I was like, okay, whatever, because it was something about cops or whatever. And I decided not to fight it. It was older. I just put it out there as 18 plus, so I didn't appeal it. Well, a few days later, after it's already been out, already cleared, they made it 18 plus. We went through the process. Oops, they removed the video, and I've got a warning on the channel now.
Wow.
The video that they themselves said was 18 plus. So
Yep.
In my opinion, they cleared it. They said, here it is, it's 18 plus, age restricted. And then they strike it. So you were talking about Twitter, Nick. I have protested it. I have a tweet thread out there. Crickets.
Yep. And
Crickets.
sometimes that's how it goes. It's lovely. You don't get to decide, like they decide when you get to talk to them. They reign from a star chamber, and they just say, well, we'll let you in sometimes, and other times we just won't.
Mm-hmm. It's
This is a good super chat. I'm going to pull it up early.
It's astonishing, by the way, when you consider the fact that, when you talk about the grifties, all kidding aside, I mean, Nick is a cash cow for YouTube. They don't care. They don't care. They're so that's a new level of ass backwardry that you would think that they would say to themselves, hey, this guy is like a freaking cash cow from us. And, at least we should have some sort of communication so we're on the same page, so we don't like cut off our own nose to spite our face. You would think that. And so if he can't get real communication from them, or a gamer with 7 million, 7 million views can't get any sort of communication, what hope is there for anybody in dealing with YouTube? There's literally nobody. There's no one who you would think has any chance of having genuine communication. And,
well, even Crowder, who has a huge channel and actually does a lot of his communication through the lawyer. Even with them, they don't get good communication. They basically just get a middle finger faxed, back to them every single time that they send anything, because YouTube YouTube so thoroughly segregates the community guidelines review team from everybody else at YouTube that even internally, like my partner manager, cannot get a hold of them. They just ghost people internally as well. They're the only way, or like the only people who seem to have a consistently effective means of doing it are extremely powerful multi-channel networks. They're the people who seem to have the best ability to get strikes removed consistently. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of positives and a whole lot of negatives with multi-channel networks. One of the big negatives is your revenue goes straight through the fucking floor because they take a chunk of it.
Yeah, and seriously, everybody, you know, go follow Nick on Rumble, follow everybody else.
Yeah, Rumble. Someone asked before. Rumble is YouTube's competitor. If you've never heard of Rumble before, it's basically another YouTube, but just not YouTube, and they're much freer in the speech that they allow. And look, as a content creator, I have some issues with how completely it's like they took the term user friendly and they just, you know, made that we don't know what that means. And they make it as impossible as you can to upload every new stream. You have to, when you're going through StreamYard, you have to put in new information. It's just bizarre the way they structure things that needs to be fixed. But
Joe, that involves communication between StreamYard and them.
Perhaps.
No, I'm telling you, it does.
Okay.
StreamYard targeted YouTube, and there's an API, and they facilitated communication going there.
Well, StreamYard added the very important LinkedIn live video service. So they didn't have time for Rumble. They were really working on that LinkedIn live video service. That's the most important thing to add to StreamYard.
Oh, hey, you know what though? It's not only Rumble, it's Odyssey and Utreon. You have to individually do the RTMP style, which is tedious as hell. I totally agree, because I'll set it up and say, oh geez, I forgot to set that up, and then you don't get the stream out on time, or you can't simul stream, then people are pissed. But yes, I agree about that with the user. That's one of the problems we have with YouTube. I can trash the company all day, and I'm happy to, but their technology is far superior than anyone.
It's so good.
No doubt.
It's so easy. That's the win that they've got. Rumble hopefully will catch up. The big problem with the Rumble thing for me is the requirement of the preview video. Like that, I think that hampers so much, and also the rotating RTMP, because with Odyssey, for example, you can actually get a static RTMP. You can get that.
Really?
Yes. But you know, and you'll always live stream at the same address, which you can do on YouTube too. Like you have EricHunley live or whatever, like that exists if you set it up. Although I don't do it that way because StreamYard makes the individual one, which is a little bit nicer. But yeah, if Rumble would get rid of that video requirement and then enter
or
some
allow
sort of
you to save one, or allow you to save one permanently, and it just use default, and you can move by, because I keep uploading the same clip every single time, which is nothing more than the intro. And
me too. Yeah.
It's like, okay, whatever.
But no, you know, the best part of Rumble, though, like not to sit here and fluff on Rumble all day or beat on Rumble all day. The best part of Rumble and locals, particularly, is they are responsive to creators. Like they actually listen and care. I personally have been in discussions with the CEO of locals. I've been in discussions with people at Rumble about how to improve the platform for streaming, make it more appetizing for streamers and for stream viewers, not just a video distribution platform, but a live streaming platform as well. And they listen and they implement those changes. So that's the best part, is though it is emerging tech and there are issues with it, they're growing in audience size, they're growing in funding, they're growing in their ability to make the type of system that YouTube has with 100% less bitchery going on in the background.
Yeah, because right now, I hate to say it's a power play too. They need creators like you and the Andrew Tates or whatever else in order to grow. So they're going to be far more receptive. Hopefully they will retain that. And when they become a genuine alternate platform, they don't start to get deaf to the same creators. But I am admittedly a little bit skeptical all the time of
always
companies.
Be skeptical of new tech. It's really appetizing for a company to pick a bunch of people that can help them quickly grow their thing and then turn on them in a dime. It happened with StreamMe. It happened with DLive. There's every likelihood that it would happen with any other new tech. We just hope that it's not. And their move from Canada to Miami is one of the most encouraging things I've seen about the company. Their offer of $100 million or $125 million to Joe Rogan, extremely encouraging as well.
Also, having Barnes and Vio Fry working for them is encouraging too.
It is
that they're writing the policies, so they have a couple free speech folks who are involved in the policy creation. That to me is the most encouraging because I know them personally and I trust them completely. Yeah. So which way? Okay, so we got the Manson thing.
Nick, are you keeping your regular schedule? So are you doing midnight streams on Rumble and locals or what?
Yes, I'm doing midnight streams on Rumble. Not tonight because I keep getting these strikes at weird times. But tonight today, I take my family for our annual trip to a local Bible camp where we go and spend Labor Day weekend hanging out. I sometimes throw up like a stream or whatever. I probably won't. But Monday I'll be back to streaming on Rumble and Odyssey at 11 p.m. Central, and that'll continue like normal. The last time I got a strike, I would have, but I was down in Florida at my parents' house, and it's awkward already to stream from my parents' house because sound travels through. It's like a huge open floor plan, and the sound goes right to all the rooms. So I have to be cautious. So instead, I just streamed on locals walking around their neighborhood, probably making everybody think I was a murderer.
Oh my God.
It was great. Those were great streams, by the way.
Oh my God. Imagine him having that Duncan MacLeod debate while walking through the streets.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
That would have been perfect.
That would have been amazing. Wow. You know, Sitch and Adam actually broke down your thing because he makes rain for others. He just makes content that's like, okay, you know what? We could spend 6 hours going over his 3-hour video here. And if you missed that interview, that debate, it actually was a really great debate. And part of what I enjoyed about it is he came in with all these misconceptions and assumptions that that a lot of people unfortunately have about people who get labeled insurrectionists by the president, i.e. that if someone is a certain way or has some sort of sexuality or orientation or whatever, that you have an issue with them. And that's never the position. No one cares. No one cares what any of you are. If you're whatever race you are, whatever your religion is, we don't care if you're black, you're white, you're yellow, you're pink. We don't care if you're gay, you're a trans person. The key thing is what gets people on the other side of the aisle upset is don't play around with children. Just don't even think about it. Don't talk to them. Just leave them alone. Let them grow up and go through their different phases without anyone being interfered. I don't want to say anymore. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt Eric here. But he didn't understand that. It was like it totally threw him for a loop, and then he was left with like, oh, if that's what it's about, well, yeah, I disagree with you on that. I think they should be allowed to talk to children because I think 12-year-olds know more about their lives than their parents do.
Insane.
Well, I will give him credit for one thing though, is he wasn't backing down and he did own his claims. And that I did appreciate.
Until he muted Nick.
Well, I didn't. Okay, I didn't get that far. I'm talking about in the interview. He did say the quiet parts out loud. It's kind of like Sam Harris's little bit. You're like, oh, wow, he just said the quiet part out loud.
That was Sam Harris. That was such a dumb statement. Like, I don't really listen to Sam Harris because anybody who labels themselves as a thinker, like I'm already have a problem with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, him saying like, I don't care. And I get he's being hyperbolic. Like, believe me, trust me, I know what hyperbole is all about. But him saying, I don't care if there's dead children in his basement, Trump needed to go. It's like, okay, but what's on the laptop is really bad. And it was bad enough that there was a survey done after the election of Democrat voters that said, if you knew about this laptop story, would you have voted for Joe Biden? And a sufficient number of them said no, that would have had an impact, a measurable impact, including changing the results. Like if they had done it, if they had known about that laptop story, the suppression of that laptop story literally picked the president of the United States. And
yeah, it was the reverse of the Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And he said it. too. Sam Harris said that. He goes, well, they saw what happened before when information got out. So, you know, they didn't want it to get out. But yeah, that was insane. But with your interview, I kind of felt, at least I'm only an hour and a half in or something or whatever. But
I keep drinking and it keeps getting spicy.
I'm sure it does. But I was going to get credit. Like you were saying, you know, you want me off of the internet. And he's like, yeah, I do.
Yep.
And I think that's remarkable. I actually appreciate when people are open about that and they don't go with a mealy mouth. No, well, you're just sort of problematic. And no, he's like, no, I hate your guts. Like, okay. And then what was crazy is you would have little bonding moments like Taekwondo.
Yep.
And talking about marriage. So they're going at it with each other. And then the guy's talking about, he mentions Taekwondo. And then Nick's like, oh, how far did you get? And then they just go in this total sidetrack chat like they're having a beer. But that's awesome. And those are the conversations I actually love to see. I love to hear that.
Oh,
where they're,
hold on. Let's not say that's awesome. I drug him to civility. Like I drug him into that. And he would answer only when I would drag him kicking and screaming into a moment of politeness. I framed with him beforehand, both in direct messages and in the pre-show chat, this is going to be a friendly discussion. And if you notice and I said to him, I said, I want to open up by asking you about who you are, because I don't know who you are. And I'd like to get to know you a little bit. I don't care if people disagree with me. I don't care if people hate me. That's fine. Let me get to know who you are. I want to do this. I start to get to that question. I don't even get into it. And right away, he fires in with these three. Well, I've got 3 questions to start. And they're all accusatory and mean. I'm like, all right, buddy, we can do it this way if you want. But I was still trying to drag him back to these little places where we could have civil conversation. He didn't want to hang out there too long, though.
Well, what about depraved heart murder? That has nothing to do with anything, but I want to ask you, what does that mean? Why is that not? Why
don't you have this in the United States? Yes.
Well, no, what was funny though is I agree, Nick, completely, but he also would like try to go legal, but then he's talking to a lawyer. So you're like, well, no, that's not illegal. No, this, and so you correct him on the line. He was flustered on the fact that he didn't know the damn law. And I did find that as amusing.
He did have lawyer web pages with their summaries of issues up on his web browser.
What, Michelle Dauber?
That's the way to go.
That's how you do it.
I read on Wikipedia that this is how the law works.
It's funny. You can't do this. These are ads. These are ads for law firms. The entire purpose of this blog post about how this legal issue works is to get you to call them if you run into it. Like that's what they want you to do. They don't want to give you an answer. They're not giving you a brief. They're just saying, please call us. That's all they want. Oh my God.
Well, but you're Stripmore lawyer. Well, aren't you? Aren't you? Aren't you? Although I will tell you this, when you said 98% of all lawyers are strip mall lawyers, I was like, that's a bit much.
Hyperbole.
that's a bit much.
The point is you can't go and say, well, this lawyer is good because they're in a high rise.
Right. No, 100%. 100%.
It's an insane
a lot of idiots
claim.
are working even for big firms that they don't know how to practice and they don't know. In fact, a lot of big firm attorneys, which few of them, if ever, have ever set foot in a strip mall, but they get so compartmentalized when they're working in a big firm that they if you take them like 2 steps away from what they do all day long for 7 years, they're literally like fresh out of law school. So
don't try cases. They're idiots. Every single one that I faced in court loses.
Yeah.
They're
because they're out of their box. They're out of their box. They need
Rob, how many
strip malls is your office, Rob?
Where's this guy's
office? Not a
office?
strip mall. I love my office. office suite. I own it. It's great. It's fantastic.
So okay, to circle back around, where do you guys think Jay Elwanger's office is? There's a strip mall
soon to be not
somewhere in Austin, Texas. I'm embarrassed to say he's from my alma mater. We both went to the same law school.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jay Elwanger. Elwanger Law LLP. Let's see. Let's find it.
There was a quote that I did want to pull out for Joe because it was really funny. It was search Control F. Where is it? He uses a word that Joe is going to appreciate.
Oh, you're talking about oh yeah, Howard King's. Oh yeah. That was in the other summary, right? When he just wrote in the basic summary. Let's go to that because this is all the receipts. You're talking about the motion here, and his language is very, very colorful.
It's the declaration. It's in the motion itself.
Here, I'll show you to prove my point. The great attorney J. Elwanger. Here, I've got his office pulled up.
Oh,
here
good.
This is it right here. This is J. Elwanger. So
There you go.
That's not bad.
No, it looks like a parking garage.
Oh, wait, yeah, here it is. It's over here. Sorry.
Okay.
That was the parking garage. My orientation was wrong. But no, here it is. So I mean, obviously not a strip mall attorney, right? Like this is a nice professional office building.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's in West Austin.
My town doesn't have any of these, by the way. They don't exist in Wilmer, Minnesota.
Yeah, this is on the western part of Austin, which generally speaking is where you find like nicer homes, and like that's probably where like Joe Rogan lives or something, like is like the western part of the city, northwestern-ish. I don't know. Anyway, it's not part of the more questionable parts of Austin, which are, I think, fewer and further between nowadays. Because
I want to be
really
a strip club attorney.
I don't know if Alita saw it or anyone saw that like while you made that comment.
I didn't. I was looking at the map.
Alita just heard Nick say, "I want to be a strip club attorney."
Well, I don't know if people. If people checked out my my live stream with Lady Rackets, they'll know exactly why I need to be a strip club attorney. The one I did from the Caribbean. So.
So Eric, pull up the actual motion to modify the subpoena and then go to the bottom of page 2. So the last sentence, even taking Mr. Elwanger's word that Ms. Smithline, quote, assented to his termination, as in you got your ass fired on August 19th, the motion is still untimely. He cannot justify waiting more than a week after Ms. Smithline reconfirmed his termination as her counsel, blithely ignoring the extensive preparation. And we all know to blithe means to bluff. And when you bluff, you're a liar.
To blithe. I love that.
Just everything.
Knowledge.
No, Howard King, you could just tell by his verbiage that Elwanger is severely outgunned. But his whole statement here is really smooth. I mean, every part of it with the quotes. God, I wish we had Emily here. Emily would be going nuts on this language. Hell, she might even know Howard King. I don't know.
Well, yeah, he says, I saw your motion to, quote, withdraw, as in your ass got fired. I like how you rephrase that.
Yeah.
Or by himself time. Withdraw. I mean, it's just it's not dry. It's good and spicy.
Yeah, it's a fun read. It's a fun read especially for a dramatic reading.
Which, by the way, Rob and I went through all of this and all 92 pages of the other.
Wow.
And please consider checking out my Eric Hunley channel. I have too many channels, I admit it, but there are reasons. One of them, I don't want to be like Nick right now.
Well, the best part is if you get a strike and a suspension on one channel and you stream on another, you'll get a strike. You'll get that one removed, flat out removed. No strikes, no warnings. It will be deleted.
Wow.
So fair warning to everyone out there. If you own specifically, if you own multiple channels and one of them gets a strike and you use the other one to stream or upload, while the one has a strike, it is subject to immediate removal. And you can ask my 2 dead channels on YouTube about it.
Wow.
Oh, All right.
Great.
I didn't know that.
How about, does anyone remember the meme from The Office where he comes in and says, I declare bankruptcy. You can't fire me. I withdraw.
Okay, so what other cases do we have going now with other than Manson? I mean, everybody definitely check out Alita's, check out my video with Rob. I've got a lot of Manson going on. What other cases are going on?
I've got Friday Night Frenzy going on tonight, and we've got Girardi, her earrings being repoed. She appealed that. The money from the trust account that went to go buy the sitting judge, her beachside condo that was the mistress. Then there's Alec Baldwin landing himself in fire, getting another defamation lawsuit against him for making comments about a Gold Star family. There's a famous celebrity chef who is getting himself in more trouble. There's
the Baldwin thing, though. Okay, look, I'm no fan of Baldwin. On one of my channels, I have 24 episodes dedicated to trashing him, essentially, with the whole Russ tragedy. So I'll stand by it. I do question $25 million for that particular suit. I mean,
it's the ask.
He was mean.
That's the ask. I just want to go into the statements that he makes, because holy smokes, you want to get yourself sued for defamation? Say shit like that.
Ooh.
Well, and she is a private citizen, so it's even worse, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But Baldwin's not known for his nice. And of course, Baldwin is still out, still interviewing. FBI report came back. Everybody I know is shocked. I tell you, shocked to hear that. Well, you have to pull the trigger for the gun to fire.
Yeah,
God, I mean,
Brandon Herrera did an entire video proving that you have to pull the trigger on that gun, that you can't do the half-cock BS that Baldwin was talking about. It just doesn't work. Thank God the FBI finally got around to it like a year later. A YouTuber, like an asshole YouTuber down in San Antonio does it in 2 days.
That way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there is another
candidate. I mean, if there was ever a candidate that qualified for Shut Up Friday, it's yeah.
Oh, his interview it's like, stop talking. Just stop talking. Why are you still in the room with them? Just shut your mouth. They'll let you go.
Right. His whole strategy was run away.
Yeah.
Away.
Just to be clear, you're here voluntarily. You don't have to sit there. You can keep telling us all the things that are going to bury you.
What I want to do is I want to clear my name. That's what I need to do. I would never do this. I'd never point a gun at someone and pull the trigger.
Woman.
I mean, I did
at that
this
woman.
time.
That
woman and that armor with the multicolored hair.
The best part was when he was like, I let go of the hammer and the gun went off. I let go of the hammer and the gun went off. I let go of the hammer and the gun went off. I was like, why do you keep saying it?
Because he said he was fanning the gun.
No, that was later. No, he said, have you ever heard of fanning in the interview? Which is, anyway, there is one way you can
the flames of this prosecution right now.
Well, fortunately,
it's like, okay, we weren't going to prosecute you before, but you're kind of begging us. You're kind of begging us, just saying like, come on. And I bet he's the sort of person who feels like, no, you can't introduce that. It's hearsay. So I didn't say it on the court. It's hearsay. That's the type of mentality that I sort of get from him, that he feels as if he understands and knows everything and doesn't.
Joe, I hate to tell you, the fix is in. Nothing is going to happen to Baldwin.
That's true.
The fix is in. The sheriff's department, this is my read on it, okay? The sheriff's department can't stand him. I think the sheriff's department leaked the FBI report. The DA is in no hurry to do anything. Sorry, she's a Soros DA. And folks who are saying that's wrong, go look it up. If you like Soros DAs, go look at what's going on in Los Angeles. Go check in with San Francisco and the recall they recently had. Go talk about some crimes in New York and then get back to me.
But I'll tell you, but still, he's dealing with that civil suit, and that civil suit. I mean, those attorneys there actually seem.
Gloria Allred.
They came out with they spent like $1 million on creating a video recreation of it, or more on a video recreation.
They got robbed if they spend that kind of money.
I heard
I've seen the video.
they spent It's just it's a phenomenal video. Which the question you have to ask yourself is why they invest the money into this video unless they're really trying to push public opinion. So it's because what are they getting at? It's not something they're likely to be able to introduce at trial, because it's just some video recreation that they had. If I was a judge, I'd be sitting there and they asked to introduce that, I would be like, hell no. There's no way that something like that isn't more prejudicial than it is probative. So yeah, it's something that when I saw that video, I was like, why are they spending this money? I mean, I know they really think that there's a big payday here, and there probably is. He probably has assets, you would think. So in that sense, you would, from a personal injury perspective, you after injury, in most jurisdictions, you're really looking at how big is the pocket, and that will determine a level, your level of how much investment you're going to put into the case, certainly financially. So, I can understand them investing in it, but why invest in that direction unless they feel like this is going to get such press, such PR, so much visualization in the public at large that'll help paint an image for the jury walking in there.
Joe, there's 4 lawsuits. 4 of them. One with Gloria Allred.
Yeah.
You have a theory? You have another theory as to why it is they would create that?
Can you imagine being the attorney that gets to depose Alec Baldwin in a video deposition and then maybe possibly leaking the video of that deposition to the public? Like, you think Amber Heard's depo was bad. Alec Baldwin loves to talk, and then being able to cross-examine Alec Baldwin on the stand.
Well, if you could pretend dress like a paparazzi, especially when you go in there, and you could tweak him. Oh, that would be a beautiful thing. It would have to be a male. It would have to be a male of a certain type, and you'd have to poke at him a little bit. So,
Mr. Baldwin, you don't happen to have a firearm with you, right? I just want to make sure that I'm okay standing at this podium in case,
you can probably get him to jump across the table at you.
If I was his counsel for that deposition, I would make him wear like a shock bracelet around his leg. Every time he's going up, I would just be like, zzz, zzz. He'd just be like, let me tell you. Oh, okay. Next question.
I was thinking manacles.
Imagine getting caught with that strategy, though, being like opposing counsel's like, Your Honor, I think is there something on his foot? Like,
it wouldn't be on his foot. It wouldn't be on his foot.
All right. So on that note, some super chats.
I just said not the foot. I would find something.
Joe, I agree. Your face was priceless when you got to learn about Ellwanger.
Yeah.
You were just like, my God.
That was just shocking. I saw some people expecting me to rant. I'm not going to rant about someone being an incompetent boob. I just sit there like just watching. I'm like a rubbernecker like anyone else. I'm just sort of like,
So who's the strip mall lawyer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, me. That's me. I'm a strip mall lawyer. But actually, Stephen Cooper, that's old news. As I clarified on stream, even worse. I'm even more of out of my basement attorney because I do my work out of my basement now.
Oh,
there you go.
I don't even have a strip mall office anymore.
Ziggy Shrugs is a good point. We were talking about channels being taken down. Ziggy Shrugs is a creator who makes like crafty stuff, like that transom window up there. And this right here, or the laid back news thing back there. That's what she does. And she made videos, little clips of Mark with this giant cup she made for him, taking a drink out of it. YouTube took her brand new channel down. I don't think she had more than like 30 subs. Tiny channel. All her videos were under 1 minute, and they were happy, and they were little crafts that she created. They took it down for deceptive practices and spam. Nuked it completely.
Yep.
Wow.
And I managed to get it back with Team YouTube, but I mean, she was like the most egregious example of a channel takedown I've ever seen. There was, I think she had 4 videos total. Her videos were so short that I did a video of it and put each video in a tweet on a tweet thread. So it's like, okay, world, here, take a look at it. Here's video 1. It's about a cup. Here's video 2. Oh, it's also about a cup. He seems happy with this cup. Here's video number 3. It was just astounding. And That one went well. I think her channel was up within a few hours. Miraculously, just, in the background. That's the other part Nick can confirm. It just, oh, wow, it's just gone.
Mhm.
There was a strike. It's just gone. Or this is just gone. Whoop, caboose. I need a Nick on a lawyer panel again. This is the best Friday. Yes, I always love having Nick here. Nick is a superstar, though. He's hard to,
Well, stop it. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm never here. Because we go to the chiropractor once a week, and my wife scheduled it at this time. Like our chiropractors are on vacation for the week, so that's why I'm here. Like, legitimately, why I'm here. I'm like, well, why now? Why this time on a Friday? Can we do like a Wednesday or something? So that's been why I'm trying to get it changed. But they schedule out like women be scheduling. They're scheduling out like 6 months. And it's like, good God. Okay, so that's the real reason I love coming on here. I do it all the time, but chiropractor.
Well, hopefully he'll tell him to start taking Fridays off.
Yeah,
Friday's a good day to have.
You're
off.
a chiropractor now. You're a big guy. Go ahead and take it off.
Exactly. Kyle Broga, I agree. If you don't like what's on TV, change the channel. Yeah. I pulled this one up earlier, but I thought it was really a great point that. Barney Cass, I'm indigenous, and quite honestly, our languages were literally beat out of my ancestors, courtesy of colonization and boarding schools. All true. And it really was a cultural genocide in a lot of ways. Forcing them to lose their identity, not cool at all. I can't deal with the narrow-minded rude haters in the chat, so I'm out. Have a great evening, panel. I knew the chat might be interesting today, because there are some different people from different areas, which I actually love. I love the fact that I'm talking to people who may be of different political persuasions in different directions, but that I like. I think we should be able to talk to everybody, and we don't have to agree.
But the thing that gets me about this chat, or about the chat and its reactions, all of us like each other just fine.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have any problems, and these like drama things that happen get exacerbated by chat, and they get kind of invested in feelings in it. But you guys should know that, like, all of us, we're all good. Like, we're fine. So you don't need to like do anything on anyone's behalf or anything like that, because that's just, it's all water under the bridge.
Literally, I invited all of these people to my wedding, and 2 of them were able to be there.
Yes, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and you look beautiful.
And the only reason I was not able to be there was because we had already had a prior engagement going to the other side of the country, and I tried to set it up so we could go to the wedding and then get on a plane and head to Kentucky, but with time zones and everything, there was just not time for us to do it, which made me very sad.
So. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Law Patrol. Another YouTuber out of Australia. He's actually been on the channel. He's doing a lot of work. Anybody who's interested in Amber Heard, Hayden here has done a ton of research with a few others, tracking everything about the private plane and the dogs, the whole dog incident in Australia, which, by the way, Amber Heard may still be on the hook for because of perjury. They're not happy with her in Australia. She could be facing some very real problems. But can we talk about shadow bans? Yeah, I get that all the time.
Anyone seen sub counts changed in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, well,
or notifications or
people always are telling me, damn it, I didn't get a notice for this again. Damn it, I didn't. So I encourage everyone.
Follow us on Locals.
Follow us on Locals. Follow me on Twitter. I mean, you don't. Locals is free to follow. Yeah, you can pay to support, and we obviously appreciate it, but you can follow for free. No cost to you whatsoever. And I'm always posting when I'm going to do a stream. I'm also posting on Twitter. Another one to follow is Secret McSquirrel. If you follow Secret McSquirrel, you're going to find out about a bunch of YouTubers' videos that are coming up, because Secret McSquirrel is super mod. And she does a better job posting my streams than I do, and she's posting everybody's streams. It is quite remarkable. Let me see. Waiting for a lawsuit to happen soon. Seen it happen too often. Worse, those strike cannot defend themselves.
Section 230.
Yeah. And Runkle, the Bailey, hey. Unless you're absolutely huge, they care for more for their advertising. You know what, though? I don't. When I see somebody like Ziggy getting torn down like that, I don't know. You know, I do think that there is a certain threshold. Nate and I actually were talking about this, that if you're big and making money, but you're not pissing them off too badly, that's sort of this weird sweet spot. So like if you're a Crowder and they just get mad at you all the time.
Well, YouTube fixed this problem. People don't understand one thing here. YouTube fixed the problem of big channels that make money but piss them off. They just demonetize them and they run ads on them anyway, and they collect all of the money. They kick them out of the YouTube partner program. And that's this beautiful thing, because now Crowder will generate millions of views. It'll still be advertised, and YouTube will generate the revenue. They just won't pay Crowder his 45% or whatever, 50% of the ad revenue. No. On ad revenue, it's I think it's a 55-45 split, but I don't remember who gets which one.
It is?
Yeah, I think YouTube gets more.
That's why if you look at your CPM and RPM on a non-live stream video where there's no super chats or anything, your RPM is roughly half of the CPM, and that's what you get. So that's why that's why they love those big channels, because the amount of money that YouTube makes on those like 40 million view videos that are advertiser friendly it's astronomical. It's unreasonable how much money they make on those.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yep. No, you got it in one. This is the reason. It's not right. YouTube is a career job for a lot of people. Yeah. Yes. Sadly, it's the world we live in. And can we get into how many times have you heard in your chats and on Twitter and everywhere else, well, as long as you keep going to YouTube, you're asking for this to happen. If you don't go to the other platforms, then that's on you. You are the ones that are enabling YouTube to take everything away from you. So I'm going to open the floor.
Oh, God.
Joe, why would you continue to go to YouTube?
Oh, because it's basically a choice between advertising to 8 billion people on the planet or a populace that's roughly the size of Des Moines. So do I want to target market Des Moines, or do I want to, it's perhaps larger than Des Moines, but you have people here in this chat who are literally asking, what is Rumble? And they're the biggest competitor for YouTube. They're probably bigger than Odyssey. So you want to talk about your target market, and I stream every night, 6 nights a week, not Friday nights, but you'll catch me. I mean, and this weekend is a little bit funky. I'm probably not going to be around as much, but in general, I'm Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday night. I am streaming for 2 hours from 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern. And I will have in my chat on YouTube, I'll have at any given time, anywhere between, let's say 400. And yesterday I had 1150 watching me when I had Legal Mindset on. And that's at any given moment, and it'll get a total of 10,000 views. In comparison from Rumble, I'll get 50 views, and that's just the reality. Now, I haven't been pitching Rumble the same way others have. You can find me on Rumble. I urge you to sign up for Rumble, if only to watch this gentleman down here, who's going to be there, because his content is amazing, and it's fun, it's light, and it's informative, and it's based as hell. But
he'll bring people to Rumble. I mean, so the creators that are getting tossed going to Rumble will help. It's kind of like we're talking shadow bans and stuff. I saw a very interesting article in Pod News. Spotify does not promote Joe Rogan on any of their. No, this shows you how powerful he is. So if you watch anything on Spotify, you will never be suggested Joe Rogan. But if you watch Joe Rogan, you'll get suggested everything else. So that means that, unlike every other partnership in the world, just about, where they're going to promote, they're going to say, hey, look, we got Howard Stern. Let's take the serious example. We got Howard Stern. All you would hear is that you have Howard Stern, right? It's the exact opposite. So Joe Rogan is literally bringing the entire audience into Spotify, and they are giving him nothing but the cash. That is how
Giving him a
important
lot of
Joe
cash,
Rogan.
though.
No, there's no question, and he's got the cash. But I'm just saying, think about that for a minute. How important Joe Rogan is to Spotify. And when the Neil Youngs of the world are saying, I'm going to pull my catalog, Spotify is rolling their eyes, going, yeah, whatever. Because Joe is bringing the audience in. Other people are not.
When I said it's insane.
I think he brings them in even more than I do. But I appreciate that. I'm bringing in 20 people, which is important. Those 20 people are very important asset to Rumble. But he actually probably, just out of being fair, being recognizing, he probably brings in a few more than I do.
When I said insane, though, the insane thing is that you imagine giving someone $100 million and then not wanting to tell anybody that you can come watch that $100 million. Like, I'm going to buy $100 million car. I'm going to lock it in a glass room on a property that people have to go find on their own to see. Like, what are you doing? Like,
it's signing Bryce Harper and then not putting his name on the back of the jersey.
Yeah, it's like, why are you like this?
Or if you think about it, I mean, if they know that people are going to be searching for him anyway, then they have certain marketing budgets. You might as well put that towards other people that could be a separate draw.
No, they have to explicitly remove him from suggestions because all the content is getting suggested algorithmically. That costs them nothing for it to go, oh, you listen to Nick Rekieta on Spotify, you might enjoy this Joe Rogan. It would be a no-brainer. There are other people like Rogan, but they don't want to because they're playing both sides of this. And you can see it by their actions. It's like, we're going to pay Rogan the money. And so essentially they're just saying, here's some cash, bring us people. Because that's all they're doing. They don't want anything else from Rogan other than the people.
I'm curious what happens when his 10 years up, his 10-year contract or whatever. Are they going to renew it? Because there are a lot of indications that they wouldn't.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
It's. I mean, I'd cry on my $100 million pile of money if they didn't renew mine. But
dude, I'd cry on my $1 million pile of money. What are you talking about?
It's also a long runway for him to figure out what he wants to do next. If he wants to continue podcasting, if so where, maybe even create a space, right? I don't know. But ahead, I mean, obviously he would be running into the same issue as all these other tech companies, the new tech that we talked about earlier. But man, I don't know. At least he's got a long runway.
To go in on that question a little bit, Eric, I'm pretty candid about first of all of our super chat numbers are available on a public place called Playboard. So there's not too much. You
got to do math on that though, right? About what is it? About 40 to 50% of what their number is closer to accurate.
Yeah, it's
60 to 70. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to take it down a bit because of the YouTube cut, because of the Google cut, and because of the Apple cut, depending on where people are sending chats from. But my point is, there's no purpose in us like obfuscating our income because you can go find it, and with a little math, you can figure it out. But the behind the scenes stuff, this is where places like YouTube, and to answer your question, why do you keep coming back to YouTube if you know they can do this? Well, Cynthia, who's a frequenter of my channel, even though she's a massive raging liberal, she was asking how much the lost income from like replay views on streams will be switching over to Rumble. And it's like hundreds of dollars a day, anywhere from $200 to $400 of income that just goes away. And anytime you do a live stream, that's a significant amount of money. Like, and that's ignoring the difference in participation in Super Chat. YouTube has gotten very good with Super Chats, making that system so promotable and so easy and enjoyable for people that they just do it. It's this subtly great system. YouTube added memberships and gifted memberships. I mean, that's a thing that locals and Rumble need to start integrating as well. YouTube took it from Twitch, by the way. They didn't invent this, but it's so successful on Twitch that they realized, hey, that's a huge thing for content creators, and audiences love that participatory aspect. I'm a member thing. And so YouTube did that. that's thousands of dollars a month for depending on how many people you have as members. And I don't even promote memberships. Like I don't really give much. There's some emojis and stuff, but I don't do a ton of YouTube exclusive content. I want people on locals, but like the amount of money that you sacrifice. And I know it's really easy to say, well, it's not about money. It's not, but for me, this is my income. Like this is all I do. And so to say, are you willing to take a 50% pay cut and risk that you will never grow just to serve it, just to promote someone else's technology and hope that it succeeds? That's a big ask for individuals. Now, as collective groups, it's great if we're promoting these tech, but it's always easy as a collective to support something, and it's much harder to ask some other individual to do that for you. And you can say whatever, like I have made a shitload of money on YouTube, way more money than I ever thought I'd make doing anything in the world. And there's no mincing words here, but like to ask someone to then take a big pay cut and risk that they will be sacrificing everything that they've built in doing it. It's easy to ask other people to do that, but realize what you're asking. The reason we come back to YouTube, it's like Joe says, you're going to advertise to the earth, or you're going to advertise to a much smaller subsection of the earth. And it's just like some people can do it. For some people, it's very successful. But when you look at it and you go, okay, today I make X, tomorrow I make half X, which one do I choose? That's a really, really tough choice that you have to be conscientious about. And let's not sugarcoat Rumble too much. They don't seem to, but they can, just like YouTube, shut anybody down at any point. And the only thing we'd be able to do is bitch, just like with YouTube.
And that's pretty much what happened with these big tech companies. When they were smaller, they were far freer. They become far more authoritarian and far more difficult to understand how they're acting as they've grown in scale and size. That's part of the issues that people raise with respect to Section 230, which is part of what gives them carte blanche to do what they do without risking exposure to defamation lawsuits left and right. And that was put in place in order to enable them to grow. And now that they've grown in size to the scale that they actually have more weight than, you know, the largest titans have more weight than arguably
the president of the United States.
Yeah, arguably the president of the United States. That's how powerful they become, and that only got there through Section 230. But they all started at some point smaller than my channel, you know, smaller than anything. And at the end of the day, they've grown by saying, well, we're gonna, you know, it's gonna be free, have, you know, speech shared, and everyone's gonna have content. If you look at Twitter's terms of service, even they advertise that this platform is here for the purpose of promoting speech throughout the world. That's what they're all about. And yet they'll silence a story that's so significant, that their silencing is so significant that it changes the outcome of who our current president of the United States is, as we were discussing earlier. And they can get away with these abuses because they change their terms of policy. And that's what Nick is talking about. That right now, today, everything is wonderful on Rumble. But for us to invest everything and say, this is where it's going to be, we don't know what changes are going to happen tomorrow, next week, or 5 years from now after we've spent all that time investing our efforts there. Which is why, unfortunately, we as content creators who want to survive have to go through much more difficult hurdles of spreading, of diversifying where we're spreading our content to ensure that we're not subject to the mercy of some crazy person who makes an arbitrary decision down the road in any company.
But there's also bandwidth.
I wanted to make 2 points, and one was something that raised by Nick earlier this week, and I think it gets back to a core problem. And then the second point. So the first point is one of the biggest issues that I have with this, and it happened on Nick's stream with Duncan Dude. Do we call him Dude? I don't care.
We call him Dunked On.
Okay, with Dunked On. I was fine. I was following it, and I was listening to the two have this big argument. And then he says, "Well, you want me canceled from YouTube?" And he says, "Yes." And he says, "Well, you want me disbarred?" And he goes, "Yes, I want your license taken away." And there is something so fucking profoundly wrong with that, where people want to unperson you. They quite literally, they are asking to unperson you because they disagree with what you're saying. That is taking away someone's livelihood, taking away their ability to work. They can't make money And then that gets to the second point, which is everyone who looks at these platforms and they're saying, well, why are you bending to why are you being non-controversial? Why are you being playing it down the middle? Because they have the ability to unwork me. They have the ability to unperson me. And they love to flex that muscle all the time. And I'm sorry, if you're making money, Nick just walked through that. Him being down for a month, that hurts his family. That's attacking his family.
Yeah,
just because you don't agree with what he says.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. So I've got a 14-day suspension on YouTube. That's almost half of a month. Imagine if you show up for work one day and you go, well, you don't get to work and you don't get paid for the next month.
Furlough. They have it's a furlough. You got furloughed from YouTube.
Now, yeah, and that's just how it goes. And yes, people go through that, of course, but that's the thing that is very scary for creators. Now, I tend to play it a little looser on the language than some others because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess, or I have a cancel.
Well, you have an
complex.
Audience, and you're serving your audience.
I am.
That is your audience. You're a late night DJ type of show. If you go in and go, well, folks, gosh, YouTube doesn't like it. So, golly, we're going to do the show a little differently.
What drives me nuts is like some of the biggest radio personalities in history. They would not exist under today's rules. You could not have a Howard Stern. You couldn't be peak Howard Stern. You couldn't do it. You couldn't even be peak Limbaugh. Like, you could not be these guys on YouTube's rules now. They'd be restrained so much that they would have to shut down. And it's like, if we're eliminating the next generation of people who entertain the world by having some sort of policy maker.
Thought. And they also provoked thought. I mean, peak Howard Stern was controversial, but he was provocative. He got people thinking. Rush Limbaugh, whether you like him or hate him, they start a conversation. And I think that's really, really important. And there was a time that was encouraged, that you would have firebrands who would say the craziest things, and then people would react to them. And it'd be like, wait, they're completely nuts. They're off their rocker, or I agree. But they would start a conversation. By doing this, you're limiting the scale of the conversation. And some people are very happy about it, as Rob is pointing out. And they love to have a little echo chamber with a nice Disneyland world where, all the grass is exactly the same height and nothing is disturbed. But I don't know. I guess I'm too much of an American, because our country is founded on the opposite.
I just wish these fucking companies were. I wish they were American. Sorry.
So there is an American tradition, though, for stifling people and shunning people from existence. Also, not to say that I like it or that I'm in favor of it, but that's our more, let's face it, that's our more puritanical tradition. One could say that. If you look back at what Puritans actually did in very early American history. Now, a lot of that was just, it came straight from religion.
Good news that those Puritans weren't actually Americans. Technically, they were English.
Well,
if we want to get into history, but no, I'm just
it's one half of the American ethos, right? You've got the Puritans, and then you've got the frontiersmen. Like that's the two sort of like
you have Jamestown and you have Plymouth. Quite literally, the foundations of it. Jamestown were rabble rouser gamblers. They had to threaten to beat them to get them to work. And then you had Plymouth, which was a religiously oppressive area. Yeah,
but even that, if you're looking historically,
we get to fight.
By the time the Revolutionary War was rolling around, Northeasterners were the ones who were doing the Tea Party, as opposed to Jamestown. They already became rabble rousers.
Well, because there were many more people there.
Virginians.
There were many more people there,
but they were also. I don't think Virginians would have done that. I think there's more of an austerity down south traditionally, if you're going back to the 18th century rather than the 17th century. But this is exactly what everyone expected to be listening to when they signed up to this channel. Let's hear about the historical Puritans and talk.
Hey, we have range, Joe. Joe, the Jew from Jersey.
This is what LegalBytes brought us down into. She's like, no, we're going there. We're going to the Puritans. We're going Puritan here, baby.
Debates of the foundation of the country.
Sorry, we're talking about American culture, and I feel like I need to bring in those threads.
Well, you know what? You're right. There is a
my
darkness,
brain
but the
just goes
beauty
there.
is that we fight over it, because I could take it all the way to the Civil War, and we're the only country in the world who killed ourselves over something.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
And they fought,
yeah,
they fought over it, and they were able to reach an agreement after all that fighting that included this lovely thing called the First Effing Amendment.
Yes.
That's after a lot of fighting and argument.
Yep. And they were that should have been the end of it. It really should have been. And the thing about the First Amendment that everybody needs, because we're all lawyers here, and we know that that only restrains government. Yeah, it's just the government. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I got it. But the reason the First Amendment only restrains government is because that's the only people the founders could restrain. If the founders could have protected free speech for everyone, even from private actors, if they thought that their government would have had the ability to do it without being tyrants, they would. But they knew they couldn't. They knew they could not protect the speech of everybody without impacting everybody else in a way that was antithetical to what they wanted to do. So they only restrained government. But the principle of free speech, free thought, and free expression was something they actually valued far beyond the government. It's rife throughout the Federalist Papers. It's rife throughout the early writings. It's in like just the idea that the right of free speech is something that is being applied to the government means it pre-exists the government and was something that they valued. And we get so wound up in this for political points. Well, it only restricts the government. You can't apply that to someone else. I know, but everybody else should be applying it to themselves. You should let the other person speak. You should give them their space. And if you don't like the opinion, you should just walk away. But you shouldn't walk away and then go shoot their cat and run over their dog and take their kids away and take their job away just because you didn't like what they said. And the idea that anyone would do that, I don't like what you said, therefore you can't eat, is scary.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Canadian, and we don't let those talk.
And also, that's one of the historical things.
They don't
really
have
hasn't gotten a word in edgewise.
They don't have rights, and they don't deserve them.
Here.
The other, the other thing,
Hey,
they also never contemplated the degree to which private actors can restrict speech before, because
that's where I was going to go.
If you were just sitting there going, "Hey, this guy is standing on my stoop and he's preaching," and I chase him off. Well, he can go and walk a block away and still shout. There was not that same issue. Even owning a printing press, which was a big deal, you could go to another person. It wasn't like this situation where, if YouTube bans you, you're really limited in terms of what you can do. Same with a Twitter ban and whatever else. And I may disagree politically with a number of people, but I also note that a lot of the people right now who are pushing to restrict speech, their views and opinions were the exact things that were being restricted before. We've seen the turnaround from the moral majority who was doing exactly these tactics. They were going around and going, "Oh, this person wrote a book that includes wizards, so we need to prevent this person from working. We need to call their employers."
No, we needed to prevent them from living when they were doing that.
Well,
you're talking about the satanic panic.
I'm talking about like the 80s, right?
Yeah, that's that satanic panic. And by the way, you're right, Runkle. And what will happen is if this gets corrected and the pendulum swings the other way, we'll get back to that. Because whoever's in power likes to suppress the other side. That is a long tradition, and that's why we have freedom of speech. So let's not target the actual freedom. And just target the other side. Go fight, okay? But leave our rights alone.
And if you have any question, go ahead.
It even goes back to some of the founders themselves. I mean,
election of 1800, good times.
Jefferson,
Sedition Acts, the Sedition Acts were Adams. Like he was one of the founders, right? And then yet when he was president, he was like, "Yo, journalists, I don't like you talking crap about me. I'm gonna try to destroy you." Like that's like that's how big the understanding was that like people are like, I even know that like those of us that can like conceptualize this idea of the First Amendment, like in practice, it's really hard for even us. So, that's anyway, that just goes to the
Lincoln
suspending habeas corpus.
suspending habeas corpus.
Nick, were you there? Yeah, same.
And jailing journalists. If you were a journalist critical of the war of northern aggression, then then you got put in prison. Just whoop poof. There was another president who gave Lincoln a run for his money on jailing journalists. Who was that? It wasn't Bush. No,
I think it was
Bush.
2008 through 2016.
God, who was that? Was that one of the Clintons? Oh no, that was Obama. That was Obama.
Yeah.
That's right. More journalists jailed than I think any president, maybe until Lincoln, and he might have surpassed him. It's amazing.
More drone strikes too than any.
Well,
other.
we don't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
ISIS gets to behead him, so at least I should be able to throw him in jail.
By the way, I've been asked this a few times, and I don't think the Manson case is federal. Is it?
Some of them are. The Smithline and the Bianco cases are federal.
Okay.
Manson's case against Evan Rachel Wood and Elma Gore is in state court. I don't know exactly why. I mean, I haven't looked at the.
Oh, because of the trafficking charges.
What circuit's the federal case in?
Central California.
They're Central District.
Okay, well that doesn't give you any advantage.
I don't know. I mean, it could be because there's some human trafficking charges in there, but
That's why I'm wondering.
I think it's diversity jurisdiction, to be honest. The Smithline case, I think, is under diversity jurisdiction, is how they got it into federal, because she lives in
Thailand
the
and
UK,
London.
something. Yeah. So and then he's in California.
I would have tried to bring it in the Fifth, because Fifth doesn't enforce state anti-slaps. So if you could drag someone to the Fifth, it's
not defamation though.
It's not defamation.
No,
okay.
they're against Manson.
They're
charging Manson with SADV, or suing him over that.
Oh, there's
human trafficking.
There's so many cases and so many accusers. It's scary.
And they probably figured, by the way, before you move on to the next super chat, with respect to that, it's an interesting strategical question when you're talking about which circuit to pick. I think that's something that lawyers would probably enjoy debating, the whole strategy of that. I mean, I would think if I was Evan's counsel, I would probably be saying, like, you're going to have here a lot of people who are Me Too advocates in the Ninth Circuit more so than the Fifth Circuit. So that's why.
Not federal.
Yeah, I understand.
Evan Rachel Wood she's being sued on defamation. Esme Bianco and Ashley Morgan Smithline have nothing to do with defamation. Right. They are suing him over DV and SA. There's lots of cases. So it's kind of confusing.
So fine. So instead of being Evans, being Esme, I'm saying is, if you have a choice between the Ninth and Fifth Circuit, you figure you're going to get people who are going to be more politically motivated than you will in the Fifth Circuit, and that political motivations in the Ninth Circuit are going to favor someone who is a victim, who's a Me Too, a Me Too person. So that's why I think you would probably end up there. I mean, that would make sense.
Well, they also work out of California. So
although Trump started packing that Ninth Circuit, so I don't know if I'd be so confident. Like at the district court level, he appointed quite a few judges to the Ninth, trying to get that thing to change. So you might get a bad draw over there from their perspective.
All right. Anybody know about Fireside? I think I've heard about it, but
I don't know about it.
I don't know. It seems I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
Mark Cuban's deal.
If Mark gives me $1 billion, I'll go.
Okay, James Corbett, I'm familiar with. He's been on Allison Morrow a couple times, and I think Jason Burmis also has been on a few times. I think they're on Rockfin. No, I'm not sure. Law Patrol. Okay, everyone should steer clear. Okay, well, there you go. Yes, you did spank Duncan. Not everything has to be read out loud. There can only be one trans simp, Duncan. Yeah. Okay, you're supposed to do a daily unbreaded here today, Nick.
No.
I don't think so. No, not my channel.
Not enough fingers here.
Yeah. By the way, guys, folks, please consider subscribing to get my numbers up to get closer to a Nick channel. This is a relatively small channel and relatively new. So if you like these kind of panels where you have these maniacs here with me, except for Runkle, he's quiet. The quiet elf in the corner You got an elf on the shelf. You got an elf in the bottom screen.
I missed the Baldwin discussion, which
we haven't had a
it's
Baldwin
a defamation
discussion.
case, Uncle. If you're around tonight, we can talk about it a whole time.
I so much wanted to get on that stream with you. I could not because I was having to work. I worked 35 hours that weekend from Friday to Sunday evening.
So, geez.
I
enjoys the profession.
Yeah, it was a treat. But yeah, I would love to hash it out with you on Baldwin sometime on that. I've got about 24 episodes of coverage that I've done.
Yeah, Baldwin's epitaph on his gravestone is "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
Oh man. Anyway, but
that one just ticks me right off.
There's so much to it though. And again, it's not excusing it. There's a lot of nuance that people weren't missing, like the COVID protocols. And yes, I know Christina Pickles is saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. You could talk, but the way things were actually enforced was something different. So there's major problems with the production team. You had the camera crew walking off who should not have technically even come on that day. Video Village was down. Does anybody know what that means?
Wasn't that the film, the video, the way that they were able to like watch what was going on without being in the room? They had
Which is how the shots were supposed to be. Because Video Village was down, she was in the room. If Video Village was up, the shooting never would have happened involving her. It might have been the focus puller because he'd be the only one there on the scene. So there's just all these elements there that people don't realize. Having the armorer have two jobs and criticize her for spending too much time with guns. And yes, I have receipts. They're all major issues. So anyway.
Well, that's just right in the OSHA complaint or the because
and the lawsuit.
I mean, the other thing is like literally when it comes down to it, Baldwin should not have, when he says, oh, it would have been insulting to the armorer for me to check the gun. It's like, well, I talked to a dozen armorers. Literally none of them said that. So, yeah, it's Baldwin's so full of crap.
Hey, hold on one second. Nick, you got to head out?
Yes, sir. I have to take we have to go get ready for family camp. And before that, I have to take the kids by the school where we do their extracurricular activities, the private school where they get to do like art and band stuff they can't do at home as easy. So have to go do that. Thank you so much for having me on. Love all of you guys.
Later, brother.
I need to
talk
leave as
to
well.
your chiropractor.
You buddy.
And not going to the chiropractor today. No one touches my bones today except Lady Rackets.
There you go.
and Lady Rackets, her tactic is so sorry. I was just waxing back to my Alec Baldwin.
All right. You guys have
brother.
I have to go as well. I have an early morning tomorrow.
Okay.
So, and I still
Later.
have to pack.
Great seeing you.
Yeah, great seeing you guys too. All right. How do I get out of here? Oh, that's how we got it. Okay, bye.
That's the button. Bye.
But
Good. I'm gonna have to go through super chats too. But
I have a range video where I brought somebody who'd literally never fired a gun before other than like a squirt gun.
oh, good.
And blindfolded, she was able to not kill the cinematographer by by looking, by just determining, dummy versus not a dummy, with like a handful of mixed ammunition. It is literally a child could do this. And so when people are like, oh, well, Baldwin's just an actor, I'm like, there is no standard of idiocy sufficient.
Baldwin is so full of shit. Okay, if you want, Baldwin is just an actor 1 minute, and then he will give you a full breakdown of the entire procedure the next minute. Go watch his police interview. And it is so remarkable how he's, not responsible in any way whatsoever, but here, let me tell you how everything works. It's Baldwin is got to be a lawyer's nightmare. I'm sorry.
If I was his lawyer, I'd be sitting down, okay, let's come in. We're going to watch your police interview. And I am going to yell at you at various points through this. We're going to pause and I'm just going to go, what the F? Repeatedly. Because, I mean,
you'd have no voice. You would have no voice, dude, because you'd be yelling at him every 2 minutes.
He takes a phone call in the interview room. What? Like, how dumb do you have to be?
Well, I don't know if you caught it, Runkle, but when I mentioned Alec Baldwin, I mentioned an entirely different lawsuit involving more stupidity, because that is how dumb the man is. He is facing defamation in New York in federal court for statements that he made about a Gold Star family, essentially saying, I can't believe I ever gave you money. You, a lot of nice things. It's basically a lesson in how to get sued for defamation.
Wow.
Yeah, he's surprised. No surprise there. It's his political end. It was a Gold Star family. He donated to the family because they lost someone, which is a good act, by the way. I'll give him that. But then it turns out that the female or the sister had been at January 6th. And
not even there. Not like
no,
way.
No, it's there that day. It was in Washington on January 6th. Not saying that she
in Washington, but not like in.
She was not part of the people who tried to breach or anything. She was just a protester, as far as I know. No crimes. Even talked to the FBI. Nothing. Just
protesting for a disagreeable cause, basically.
Well, whatever. I mean, everybody has that right.
Yeah.
It's America. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
You show up and protest. It's literally a right. And they even have a permit.
I get in crap on Twitter all the time for going like, hey, this group was within their rights. And people are like, oh, you agree with them. No, I just agree they have rights. That's a different question. It really frustrates me how many people on either side are just like, what do you mean you say that they can protest? Like, but they can though. Like, that is what rights are about. If you don't support rights for the other side, you don't support rights for yourself, because eventually someone's going to argue that you shouldn't be able to talk. And
it's a really simple equation. We don't have to protect speech that's nice.
Yeah. The reason for protecting speech is so that people can say things that are offensive. The only way you grow at all and can develop your thinking at all is if you are having it scrutinized by people who are disagreeing with you. That's why if you're having healthy discussion, healthy debate, rather than trolling type of debate, which is, that's sort of what it felt like it was devolving to in the debate we were referring earlier with Nick. But if you're having a healthy debate and exchange of ideas, that's how you either change your mind or you come to better understand your own position. One of the reasons I like talking with people who might disagree with me is because I say to myself, you know what? Sometimes I might have to reframe where I'm coming from because I have to look at things a new way because of this new evidence you presented. Or I'll be like, I'll come to like a gut instinct on opinion on something, and I can't really narrow it down. And as I'm forced to defend my position, it helps me develop clarity in my own thought as to why I feel the way I feel. So I think but that only happens if you're willing to engage the other side and you're willing to allow for complete unfettered free speech so that you have that opportunity to grow. But unfortunately, I think that the elites at the top don't want to see critical thought. They don't want people to grow. I think that their idea is just to swallow whatever messaging you're getting. So free speech is like the worst enemy of that type of position.
Or another thing that's of use is you may learn how the other side of your equation came to their opinion and may say, you know, I still disagree, but I see how you got there. And so from your side, I can see that it doesn't work for me. I don't live that way. And a perfect case of that would be
Marbury Madison. Oh,
no,
sorry.
No, that's actual cases. A perfect example of that would be rural versus urban. Because somebody who's rural is going to get pretty pissed off if you put a noise ordinance on them or something like that, right? But somebody like you, Joe, who's living in a very crowded area like New York, a noise ordinance makes some sense because there's a lot of people who are severely affected by the loud noises.
You can't operate your tractor in your New York apartment.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
Right. And that tractor may be loud as hell, but that's fine. It's appropriate wherever it is, or it's more acceptable out there. And I think some of the misunderstandings.
I love how he says in an urban area, the problem with loud noises is a tractor. When I'm thinking of like these megawatt speakers.
Well, I was thinking about the cars that go down my street sometimes that go, you know, with the sonic boom. But yeah, well, you know, for rural, think of Norm Macdonald and his grandfather's pig picture. Okay, I'm gonna get through
I mean-
super chats too.
Yeah.
Will any of you be covering the Chris Chan case? I'm sure Rekieta will.
I probably will as well. Yeah,
I
I'll probably
am
cover
debating.
this. I
It sounds
had,
so gross.
come on, it's so come on. That case is so juicy. How can you walk away from it?
Oh God, bad choice of words.
I'm so happy I don't know about that case.
You don't know about
Oh,
that case?
No, I don't, and I'm not. I will. Nope. Don't.
Let's just say that if the resulting things happen, the genetic pool shrank a little. Okay. Anyway.
My reaction to learning about Warm Fanta was just caught. I like Legal Minds just threw that on me. You don't. I can. Yeah, you don't watch any videos, including that. Just there you go.
Okay.
What? Oh, I wish Nick was still here because I
I
didn't
like
get
how
that part.
Duncan said to Nick that he didn't see the difference between police just being armed and pointing a weapon at someone. I was like, whoa there, Alec Baldwin. Is that type of thing that can be dangerous? Yeah. Actually, I think what they were arguing about is whether they were pointing their guns at her face or not, which that's kind of a very, very big difference. A lot of time, police are usually armed, at least in the areas I come from. But I don't live in Mayberry.
Well,
but
this swatting was also was Canadian police. Yes, I 100% believe they'd have shown up with ARs pointed at her. It's
Yeah, you could swat.
But
in Canada.
apparently, according to everyone who was there, that's not how they showed up, though. That they showed up, and that she made that statement, but that statement was purportedly refuted by numerous people who were present. So
who are the people?
I all I know is third-party reports. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't. When I say third party, I mean I didn't even read these third party. I'm hearing it from third party. This information came out to me during the course of that debate. I haven't researched that story any further as to who is saying what.
Is this
I'm
Keffels?
just kind of curious on that one because the similar things I've seen, and one thing I saw a lot of is people were saying, "Hey, listen, there's." Nobody gets swatted in Canada. I'm like, in Canada, people get swatted by accident by their friends. It happens a lot, where you've got somebody who's a military vet. He's having a rough time. He calls his buddy up and says, "Hey, I'm having a sad day. Can you talk me through it?" And his buddy talks him through it. He goes to sleep. And then his buddy goes and calls the cops and says, "Hey, can you just knock on his door?" And what the cops do is they knock on his door with their boot, kicking it open with rifles. And I see people saying, "Oh, the police gave a statement where they refuted that they pointed the firearm." You know how many statements I've seen from Canadian police saying, "Oh, we never pointed the gun." And then I've got a video from the guy's kid that shows that, the person is proned out on their front yard with a gun pressed to the back of their head. Because it's more than I have fingers on one hand. I don't trust the police when they say we didn't point the gun, because I have seen that way too many times where, the police give a statement that is not borne out by what actually happened.
Uncle, they didn't point the gun. That was gravity.
And
That's why he was on the ground.
I see people saying a search warrant is not a swatting. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. Just because they go and apply for a warrant in the intervening step, but it's based entirely on it's based entirely on a swatting style call. It's still a swatting, right? That's still a swatting. It's, just the fact that the police went and got a warrant for it doesn't change that fact. So I don't know. I'd want to see some circumstances there. So I don't know exactly what went down, but I also know what I don't trust. And that is the police statements on this.
Well, that's why body cam footage is a nice thing. Somebody's like, "Oh, you know what? Let's just go get the footage. We want to argue. We'll go check it out. Here we go."
I absolutely think we should have body cam footage, but typically we don't here in Canada. It's very rare that you'd have any body cam footage.
Weird. Of all the issues bigger channels go through are very discouraging for new content creators. They punish you all, but they can erase us. That's true on Borrowed Crime. It is
on Borrowed Crime. This is a new content creator. So this is on Borrowed Crime has a YouTube channel doing some true crime stuff. So thank you for the super chat, by the way, on Borrowed Crime.
Yes. And here's the problem, Rob. I cannot sit here as someone who has had his channel vaporized. I've had 2 channels vaporized. Okay, this channel, not this one. Eric Hunley was vaporized on Valentine's Day. Thank you very much. In the middle of a live stream. That was YouTube intercoursing me.
Do you have any idea why that happened?
Yes, it was a mistake.
Mistake by YouTube or by you?
By YouTube. They replaced it, pulled it all from backup. It took a couple days to get it back. Then I had another channel taken down because of BS copyright strikes, which I prevailed on as well. But the point is that I can't sit here in good conscience and tell on Borrow Crime, oh yeah, go create on YouTube safely. No, it is good luck. I hope your channel does fantastic. Support any way you can. I support all creators, but always know that the axe can fall, because that's the truth. We are all under threat. I'm potentially under threat. Hayden went through a FOIA data dump on the dogs. Okay, more dog coming for Amber Heard. Bad news for her.
Yeah, he provides the scoop on that. That I think he's become the source for everyone.
Oh, that's his. Yeah,
who's reporting on that and keeping everyone updated on the Amber Heard developments post trial with respect to developments specifically in Australia. That he's got this whole FOIA thing going on there. I urge you all to sign up to Law Patrol and check out his channel if you care at all about how this case in Australia is developing, because he's the primary source, and it's always best to go to the primary source rather than secondary sources. So yeah, you should definitely check out the Law Patrol. He does great work.
Yeah,
so agree. And there need not be polarization of community minds is more beautiful and fascinating when it's in a mosaic of ideas. Sure, I agree. Difficult to get there, but I do agree. It's like, I don't like this, I'll stop watching, versus I don't like this, I'll stop everyone from watching. One of these is simply evil. Good point.
And the difference is this, and this is something I thought about. I sort of went through my mind like a year ago, trying to figure out what's the difference between people boycotting and saying we're not going versus or saying I'm not going, and en masse versus saying take that person down. And what I realize is it's the difference between whether it's American or not, because ultimately, if enough people are saying I don't like what this company stands for or how they're conducting themselves, and they decided, so I'm now not going to use their service. Now, if it becomes significant enough that it's not worth it, that's now the public at large and saying this is what we want, as opposed to a tiny minority, which is outruling the majority. When you have a majority of people saying we're not willing to support you, then that's now the majority. Now that's democracy in action, because it's now everyone is voting with their dollars and saying I don't want to be here.
But they're only voting for themselves, Joe. They're voting for themselves, and that's the big difference. They're not taking it away from others,
as opposed to going to a nursing home, as opposed to going to nursing homes and collecting votes and putting them in this little.
But that's a story machine on another day. Okay, would a TILA type law work for social media? I don't know what a TILA law is.
What I was just describing never happened in human history.
I have no idea what you're talking about, and moving on to that.
It's a truth in lending disclosure.
Oh, okay. Howdy, everyone. Just to say, chiropractors aren't doctors. They're no better than a good massage. That is something that is argued. There's a lot of things that are pseudoscience versus science. I won't say that chiropractors are necessarily science, but I'm not going to go as far as to say they don't have value for some people who do find them. The argument can be made that psychology is a pseudoscience. People hate hearing that, but technically, lie detector or polygraphs, pseudoscience.
Yeah, I mean, polygraphs are not pseudoscience in that they measure what they actually measure.
Well, they measure galvanic responses, but the interpretation of it is absolutely pseudoscience.
Oh, well, it's the thing about a polygraph is that it's not actually a lie detector.
2-for-1.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh, my boys. God. I'm supposed to be meeting up with these gentlemen. If those of you who are in the New York area and would like to meet myself and Nate the lawyer, as well as Uncivil Law, at 3 p.m. or so on Sunday is when we're supposed to be meeting up together, as Nate is in town. I met with him last night. for drinks. And Nate is supposed to tell us where the location is. Can you provide that location so we can share it with the audience here?
It's the Gin Mill.
The Gin Mill.
The Gin Mill.
GINMILL in New York City.
It's both gin and mill, all in one.
The Gin Mill.
Why stop
All right.
halfway?
All right, it says 442 Amsterdam Avenue,
That's it.
which
So
is on
3 p.m., 3 till 6.
All right,
3 till
442
6.
Amsterdam Avenue from 3 till 6. That's where you can meet up with me,
With the three of us.
with Nate, and with Uncivil Law. I'm sure we're gonna have a great time there. Even if no one shows up, we'll have a great time.
Yeah.
But if you want to stop on by, we're willing to meet with people, talk with them, and hang out and chill. And it'll be a fun time. So that's at the Gin Mill, which is at 442 Amsterdam Avenue, right there in New York City, which looks to me like it's around 81st Street. I thought you said it was around 72nd, but I'm seeing here at
It's
somewhere.
81st? 81st. I think 81st.
Does that make sense?
81st. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. So that's where we're gonna be. The Gin Mill.
And here's an idea
Awesome.
for you, Joe, on your way there.
Mm-hmm.
You could stream from your car while your wife's driving you.
I get it, because the whole wife drive. Yeah, okay.
I'm
I
going to take this
wish.
opportunity to say bye. I've got to get a few
No,
hours of work
That's
done
cool.
before I go live tonight.
I
but
missed you, brother.
good
I
see
want to
you.
get you on sometime next week. All right, because I
Yeah.
haven't seen you in ages. And we're supposed to be
Yep.
doing our religion thing, right? Our religion,
second
our
Tuesday of
religion
every month.
discussions. So that's going to be, that's something none of you probably know about. I had a phenomenal religious discussion about differences between Christianity and Judaism when I was staying at Rob's house for a week, and they had very, very positive feedback, and we both learned a lot from that discussion and really enjoyed it. So it's something that we're planning on doing the second Tuesday of every month, which is not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. So you can make sure to check out. We haven't figured out it's going to be by me, by him. We'll probably be alternating, but yeah, something like that. And if you're into that sort of thing, it's just different perspectives of the world based on religious teachings. I think that you'll probably enjoy that a lot. So
Yep.
Great seeing you,
Cool.
Rob.
All right. I'll be on
Hey,
later tonight.
Rob,
See you guys.
Thanks.
Let it rub.
All right. Trying to get through. New to you, Eric, watching Nick, Joe, Anita, or Alita. Just saw Rob. Awesome. Thank you very, very much. This is a good point. Talking about Roku, they do not have Rumble doesn't have an app on Roku, which I think is wrong. They really need to be on every possible platform. I totally agree with this.
Yeah, Rumble needs to get their game up.
Yeah, they do. It's weird because they're on Amazon Fire Stick, and Amazon is Twitch and a competitor, but they're not on Roku, which is the most open of all the other devices. I have no idea why the hell they wouldn't be there. It's just kind of weird. I think Stix does it right. Publish on both, but put exclusives on alternatives. Advertise the alts constantly. Eric and Barnes do this too. He's probably saying Viva and Barnes. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we do it. I do locals only stuff. We do what we can, but there's bandwidth issues. Can we make our own platform as a group? No, we're nowhere big enough to pull something like that off. Well,
Yeah,
What are they talking about? Because
That's million,
what's YouTube doing
millions
now?
of dollars.
They canceling people out or something? Is that why everybody's asking about these?
well, Nick got another strike, dude. So he's out for at least 2 weeks.
Second strike.
Second strike.
What did he do now?
It was the stream that he made private with Keffels, where he was talking about Keffels, and that everyone freaked out about. He doesn't, but they didn't tell him what part of that stream, and he said he's not going to appeal it until they let him know exactly what part of that stream was the part that got him struck. But he made it private because he figured it'd be mass flagged, and he was afraid of that, and he said it was mass flagged anyway, probably by the thousands, and he and that's why they gave him a strike. And the scary thing, those of you who are joining late, the scary thing about a second strike is if next 90 days he gets a third strike, his channel,
He's done.
Yeah,
his channel, which is probably if you look at it objectively, the value of his channel is probably millions of dollars.
Yes.
Snap gone.
Yeah.
It's just
Mhm.
gone. So
He could be losing $1 million in income. Yeah, that
Yeah.
channel's worth $1 million.
So it just basically becomes don't stream for next 90 days, but not even that, because they could strike you for things that happened months ago.
yeah.
Which they do.
I get occasional claims on things that happened months ago, especially for batch records. Because I'll in my batch record streams I'll have stuff that I'm just playing around with the chat or something, I make it private, you know, for my edited content, and I just get stuff like from March. I'm like, first of all, who's seeing this stuff? Because it's all private anyway.
There's a
And
couple of people,
like,
though,
get
who
these
may be.
claims.
I do wonder, Kurt, if there aren't some motivated actors who could be actually digging and turning in. Like, I was in that Reddit post, and that Reddit post is explicitly kind of giving a little bit of a hint, like, you know, here's the YouTube guidelines. You know, here are these channels like Nate the Lawyer, Eric Hunley, Spidey, and we all in a little list here. So I don't know for sure, because obviously I don't see everything, but that would be an effective way to go after a creator.
There are definitely some haters. You know, I've got my own personal haters. LawTube has haters, and haters gonna hate. Unfortunately, it seems like the haters can do some real damage, particularly when you have YouTube with their guidelines, which, as I'm sure you guys know, has been a huge topic just recently because of all the issues of inconsistency with big channels. Channels that have 1 million people, 5 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get answers from YouTube on these community guideline issues. Inconsistent treatment with Markiplier, videos coming up, videos coming down, being age restricted, non-age restricted. Markiplier makes a complaint about it. Now his videos get age restricted just to be YouTube being a dick to everybody.
Hey, Nate the Lawyer and Nate and Eric.
Yeah,
We've got one that was age restricted, and we're like, okay, fine. We didn't bother appealing it. 4 days later, it was taken out, and we got a warning on the channel. Little Nate and Eric, 6,000 sub channel. Okay,
Unbelievable.
And that was their own thing. They already said age restricted. We're like, okay, fine. Oh, now we're gonna get a strike. Asses. How do we feel about a Duchess going into politics? Meghan Markle gives me a headache. Next. Did I miss these people saying anti-trans BS? I don't think you did, Huntus.
What stuff?
Well, I mean, Nick was on here. I don't think we even talked about trans. We talked about
the only thing
debate with Knucklehead.
Well, the only thing I said is that even those people who the president identified as being enemies of the state, which I felt that I was incorporated in that anyone I know basically says nobody cares about any adults.
Oh no, I know what she's talking about. Okay, yep, sorry.
Nobody cares about any adults doing.
No, I know
I'm
what
just
she's
saying,
talking about.
doing anything. Don't care about any adults doing anything at all. Do
Joe,
whatever you
I know
want,
what
as
she's
long as
talking
it's for
about.
yourself and not harming any others. That's basically.
Joe, I know what she's talking about because she tagged me and Nate. This is about the against the wall comment from Nick.
Right.
I
was just talking to Hunter because Hunter said
I know that's what I'm talking about.
Right. No, what Hunter said was
that if they're claiming that those kind of people are trans, which is not even a claim at all.
It wasn't that. It was Nick that said that people who help children with I'm not even going to get into the medication, but medication for children,
scientific things. Yeah.
That they should be against the wall with other people who do bad things to kids. Okay, that was essentially the line, and he did it extremely well.
No. Supposedly, what Huntus was saying to me earlier is that elsewhere, perhaps, that he said that people who think that's okay, that harm should, specific harm should come to them. So,
well, no, I saw the clip. It was a clip of Nick saying.
I saw the clip also. But I think there was other parts. I think there might have been other parts outside of that clip that might have been struck. But that's what I'm saying. You might be right. I don't know. I'm just telling you what Huntus was telling me. So
it could be. I'm not sure. Let me see. Mark Kudak, I enjoy popping in and out of the stream between work meetings and seeing Rob's ADHD in action. Cute. What do we all think will happen to Elwanker? Oh, Elwanker, that's another good one. I like that.
It could be sanctioned. It could be he could be sanctioned, theoretically disbarred for that type of stuff.
He actually will, though?
Probably not. I don't trust anybody.
I think sanction may happen. I would think of sanctioning and like, you know, maybe a suspension of his license. If that doesn't happen, that's very disappointing. I mean, if not for the way he treated his client, then for directly deceiving the court about the nature of his representation and just, I mean,
I hope something happened.
Yeah. I mean, amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I mean, Jesus. By the way, this is a part that is terribly frustrating because I think there are big problems with Ashley Morgan Smith lying in her testimony. Bye. And that doesn't mean that I can't sit there and say, oh my God, that's a nightmare for somebody to have a lawyer do that to them.
Oh yeah.
Because it is a stain on your profession. I'm sorry, but it's like people have to have a certain degree of confidence that when they go hire a professional, they're supposed to represent them, that they're not just screwing them, because that's what I feel like is going on.
You'd think, yeah.
Biden supported the heckler last night. Democracy. I'm not familiar, but okay.
Well, I only saw the first 5 minutes of his speech. Did you see any more of his speech?
I didn't. I can't watch Biden's speeches. I always worry he won't get the next word right, or he's going to read the instructions on the teleprompter.
Well, that's why you watch. That's why you watch. What do you mean? That's why you watch. That's the best part of it.
I don't get joy out of somebody who genuinely I feel is slipping. I have problems with it. I'm not a fan of the dude and the policies.
It's not that he's slipping. It's that he has so many people circled around him who are pretending this is totally normal. This is totally normal. To me, that's the funny part, that he can read something and say, we all understand that next page, the Constitution.
I find that disturbing, not funny.
I'm like, oh my God.
Let me see. Subversion is 95% of warfare. Subversive speech used in early stages of war to generational. Yes. Should speech like this be protected or restricted to prevent war? No. I mean, I'm sorry, it's speech, and suppression of speech can cause a war too. So I'm going to say that's not really. I don't think it's an argument. But thoughts on the Cleveland State University Fourth Amendment lawsuit, where they did illegal searches of room for students taking online exams? I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, so. Basically, in order to take an exam, you have to pan a camera around your room to show them that you don't have anything that is there that you might use for cheating. And the issue that comes up is apparently there were some documents in the room that then later they made those videos public. And so this person was a little concerned by all of that. And the court took a view that it was a violation to make people scan their room like that because it's your private space.
I agree with that, because they need to provide facilities for you, because if they provide the facilities, then they can check you on the way in, but your room is your own personal thing. So that actually makes sense in my mind.
It's I think that a lot of these things are going too far.
I thought we ran you off.
No,
It was the YouTubes. They're against us.
I guess so.
Well, the one I always worry about for these testing things is that they require you to have your eyes on your screen at all times. It's like,
I can't do that.
Deficit. I would die. Like,
literally,
I would just be sitting there going, okay, you know what? Here you go. Here's my disability, lawsuit, and we'll fight it this way. So
yeah, that's great. Well, because I mean, okay. I don't know if you guys study body language or anything, right? Anybody is going to fail that if you have to have your eyes on the screen and you're remembering. You just failed because I'm looking up to remember something. So there's no. You're completely set up to fail with something like that. That's just crazy.
Well, I mean, I did an exam where I spent 10 minutes taking apart and reassembling my pen because I was just having an attention deficit moment. I still did great on the exam, but I would have failed just because, whoops, sorry.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. The other thing that's terrible is that those cameras often don't do well at recognizing black faces because
that's true.
Issues with lighting and contrast. So you've got something.
Nate knows nothing about that.
Well, some people have got to have like either giant spotlights on them, so they're doing it like it's some sort of 1920s police interrogation, or else they're getting failed because the camera can't tell what's going on. It's ridiculous. So,
very true. Last super chat, folks. I know Legal Eagle pushes Nebula as an alternative, given all the copyright nonsense. Is it, or maybe a potential leverage point? I don't know, but Nebula has a lot of creators that are probably politically not aligned, and I don't know if they'd be open to people like Nick Rekieta. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but the thing is that, I hate to say this, but YouTube is a private business, and so is all these other platforms. And unfortunately,
We know that, Nate. I mean,
have no choice. No, I'm saying it's like it sucks because you kind of have no choice. It's like it leads you to this stuff where you want competition, but there's no one big enough to compete with YouTube. It's like I don't know how we got into this position.
They're a private entity which has global control, which in the time of the founders, they never could have possibly envisioned the scope of the ability of a private entity to control free speech.
East India Tea Company.
What was that? I can't hear.
East India Tea Company. You're saying the founders?
The East India Tea Company was wealthy. Was a wealthy multinational. They were a wealthy multinational company, but they didn't have the ability to stop people from speaking in places that they can be heard. They didn't have the ability to. They didn't have anywhere near the type of control. You're going to compare the East India Company, which I understand. They were massive. They were massive, and they were
But they
evil.
couldn't prevent you from going and standing on your soapbox.
Right. They couldn't stand the same soapbox as anyone else.
But neither can YouTube. YouTube. All right. What YouTube can stop you from doing is saying it on their platform, but you can go and say it on your soapbox. Nobody stops you from going to the street into the public square. You can go there, right? You just can't do it on YouTube.
I mean,
So the issue.
Fundamentally, I think YouTube should have the right to control what speech they decide. They put up and don't. Because YouTube, even as a company, they should have some rights too. It's just a question of what I think they should be doing from a moral stance.
how about just a consistency in their actions would be good enough.
It would be nice if they were a lot clearer. It'd be nice if they were a lot more specific about, like, for example, Nick's problem. What exactly is the issue? What exactly is the problem? How do I go solve this problem?
You're right. That's definitely one of the flaws of YouTube. But the point is, they had congressional support in order to become this public square. They could not have evolved into becoming a public square without the government support of Section 230. So now they've relied on that to build something which is so much more massive than any of the founders could have possibly fantasized about. In the fact of its scope and power of controlling speech, because of congressional.
Joe, we got the question right here. It's perfect. We'll just go right into it.
Should the KKK have a right to stream their rally on YouTube?
Yes.
Hell yes. As an Orthodox Jew, I say hell yes. Even though they would happily see me and every member of my family be slaughtered, they have a complete right to do that, as long as they're not calling for some sort of imminent harm to come to someone. That in that case. And in that case, what I'm telling you is, if they're not saying anything that's a legal thing to say, then yes, they should have the same platform.
I'm disagreeing with that 1,000%.
Go on. I'd love to have this conversation with you.
I am not. I think we have to be careful and not advocate for government control over private entities, right? I am against nationalizing social media at any cost. I believe
that's not what he said. The question was, should they have the right to have the rally? Yes, they should. The same reason a gay march should have the right to have a gay march.
I'm telling you why I'm saying no, they shouldn't. Because I'm saying I don't advocate for government takeover of private companies, even social media. So what I'm saying is, if YouTube, just like a Christian website, it says we don't want this atheist stuff or this stuff on our site, they should have the ability to say no. Just like if somebody comes into my house and I say, I don't want you in my house because you're white, because you're black, because of whatever, I should have that right. The right to include also includes the right to exclude. So I'm saying this, yes, if YouTube puts it, the issue is if YouTube makes their policies clear, we don't want to take people on here, that's fine. The problem isn't the terms of service. The problem is the way they execute it for each. For us, it's one set of rules, for somebody else, it's one set of rules. But the foundational piece about them being able to keep whoever they want off their platform, I believe they have that right to do so. And I disagree with Joe saying KKK has a right to be on YouTube to spread their message. No, I think it's a bastardization of YouTube's right to control what's on their platform and their business.
So can YouTube be racist then as a private company? Are you cool with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. As long then you're consistent. I'm fine. If you're saying that we don't want black people on, no black people videos, and you're fine with that, we're cool then.
The KKK had a YouTube site and they said we don't want black people on it, they should have the right to say that. They have the right to do that, and I would defend that right.
So you're saying the country club
government
aspect of it. You're saying YouTube's a country club.
Not the government. Yes.
No, YouTube's a country club. Using your argument, and you're saying my country club wants these people, and that's it. And
Yes.
which
Yes.
you're intellectually being
100%.
consistent.
Yes.
So I'm not going to argue. You're intellectually consistent.
There's a famous case, state action case, where that actually happened, where a black person went to a social club and said, "Hey, I want to be in this social club because you guys are a business based on state law," and the Supreme Court said, "No, they have a right to exclude you as a black person because there's no state action here. It's a private entity. They have the right to say no to you because you are black. If it's the government, though, the government cannot say no to you because you're black."
But hold on a second.
Saying no to this particular thing.
Once you give that latitude, how can you possibly say that they're not a publisher and they're just a distributor who is allowing content to go back and forth? Once they're having that level of control, how can Section 230 still be consistent with the notions as far as people have it that, well, we have to treat them like they're a distributor because they're not controlling the flow of content that's happening on their platform? Imagine the situation that Eric here was just describing, that you had someone who grew to be the size of YouTube, okay, and that they have a requirement that every stream you put out there has to include a slur against both either Jews or blacks. Otherwise, you get taken off, your channel gets taken off, and they're this massive. Okay, and you're going to tell me that they got propped up to this size and have protections that you and I do not have from any sort of issues of being deemed a publisher because purportedly they have no control of the messaging. That's what the whole point of Section 230 is. It's like, well, YouTube has no control. So since they have no control, they can't be sued as a publisher if someone commits defamation on this end. They're just a distributor like the telephone company that has no control. They're basically a carrier and they're the common carrier. And so they basically, but you're saying they're a common carrier, which is also a country club and can restrict their rules. To me, that is an inconsistent position to say. If you want to tell me that they have the right to do that and say we don't like speech from this direction and we want to promote speech from that direction, whether it's pro-hateful speech or anti-hateful speech, whatever it is, at that point I don't understand logic saying that they are simply a distributor and that they're not expressing their views and thereby should be subject to all the rules of a publisher and thereby be liable for anyone who commits defamation on their site.
Well, let's also.
That's actually a separate argument. I'm not totally against it, but
it's not a separate argument because my point is he's saying they're private country club, and I'm saying they don't get treated like that.
Yes, they are 100% private companies. What I'm saying is that the 230 argument I think doesn't work because 230 is not simply about free speech, right? It's about being able to sue these companies for information that's on their site, and that's true. So 230 was you had essentially a split in the courts, right? You had one court saying yes, you can be held accountable for things that somebody else puts up on the site, and you had kind of another court saying well you can't, and then the Congress got together and said
progeny and CompuServe.
Yes,
right?
and then the Congress came up and said okay, you can't, in this particular thing, but now. You've made the distinction. You've said, well, how come they get this special privilege? That's not true. Any one of us. I can start a YouTube-like website and we'll have that same privilege.
You get 230 protection, and Eric does for the comments, for example, on this live stream. Eric, because of Section 230, is not liable for the comments on this live stream.
But I am subject to YouTube chicanery, sadly.
Yeah. Because
YouTube will pull a yeet because of a commenter because I'm not moderating my comments, which actually is ironic that you brought that up because technically the whole Section 230 was, hey, there's no way I can moderate all these people. I'm trying to moderate as best I can. Don't slam me for not moderating properly in either direction.
Yeah, but I just wanted.
But of course, when YouTube is doing it, it's purely private action.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's them saying, well, we're a platform that's hosting you as a platform, that's hosting chat comments as a platform. And we can make decisions every step along the line about what we do or do not allow. But you can't be sued by some third party You know, because
If
they don't
somebody
like
copies it.
because they don't like what someone is saying in your comments.
Yeah,
So you still get the Section 230 protection
and
from the
Joe's
rest of the world.
and Joe's foundational piece that just has essentially blew up his argument is that this Section 230 is only for like YouTube and stuff. No, everybody, it's open to everyone. So if your premise is it's because 230 is especially for YouTube and these sites, well now you know it isn't. So I don't know where your argument goes after that.
230 long precedes YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know where your argument goes.
Of course it does. My point is that the reason for the logical underpinning for Section 230 is the fact that there is a lack of control, that they don't have the ability to control speech. That was the justification for 230 being put into effect, and that's why they have the blessings conferred upon them of being distributors rather than publishers. And for those in the chat who are not understanding the distinction here, distributor is basically someone who is just allowing content to flow through. Normally, the way Section 230 works,
it's like the telephone company.
And what you have to
carrier.
Yeah,
what you need to understand is this: when someone commits defamation. So if I commit defamation against Eric, you know, and I say outright lies that hurt his reputation and harm him in some sort of way, and they would qualify for all these bases as defamation. Eric would have the right to sue not just me as the speaker, but anyone who helped me publish that to the wider audience, which would be any platform that I'm saying that on. They too could be liable for defamation. Section 230 was written by Congress to basically say, look, this was done in the mid to late 90s, saying we understand that under law as it's written now, each of these new platforms that are allowing blogs at the time or other content to be shared, they have no control over that. They don't know what's happening in that. So we're going to treat them as being distributors, not publishers. Distributors being an entity that has no control. And therefore, it's like a bookstore. We're not going to that. Even though a bookstore is helping distribute something that's defamatory, they don't know what's in there. They're not monitoring it. They have no control, and therefore they have no responsibility for that. And what Section 230 actually said is, we're going to give them some control, some level of control. And despite the fact that they have this level of control, they're still going to maintain that blessings of being considered a distributor and not liable for someone else's defamation versus being a publisher who would be liable for another speaker's defamation. Yeah. And because a publisher has control. And my point is, that's why I make a big stink about this whole thing of control, that they now rose up to be this giant that the founders never could have considered a private entity coming to the size where it's more powerful than governments, than the president of the United States, than countries, wealthier than many countries on the globe. And they are so incredibly powerful and influential as to how their messaging happens. And there's no way they could get that if not for the fact that they were treated as a distributor who has no control of what people are saying, rather than as a publisher who has a great deal of control about what's being said. And that's why I'm saying is it's intellectually, to me, inconsistent to say that they should be allowed to use those blessings of saying we have no control while asserting a massive amount of control and just saying, I don't like you, boom, you're gone.
Well, but there are two separate things, right? I can have enough control within certain limits, right? People will come in my house, right? Because you can do whatever you want, but I have some house rules, right? If you're going to use the toilet, flush the bathroom. If you're going to do this, right? There's a certain amount of house rules that you can have, and that's essentially what Section 230 said, right? Even though you're a pass-through company, you can have house rules to determine what people do on your platform. And if people break those rules and you don't believe they're violating your rules, then you can kick them off. And then it even goes further than that, right? If you're a Christian site and you're spreading a Christian message, then you can limit it, right? You can say, all right, this is the type of message that I want. Now, the individuals the actual text and what people are saying in that message is one thing, but you can direct it in saying, there are particular sites for religion, there's particular sites for science, and particular sites, sharing sites, that you can only share certain types of content or certain types of messages, but they would still have 230 protection too, right? Because they even have more control than YouTube. Yeah. And here, when you're talking about YouTube is not, well, YouTube does have a channel, but when you're talking about the newsstand, YouTube is a newsstand, right? You go and you look at all this different content, right? But then YouTube also has a small piece of it where they do publish content, right? You go to YouTube Creators and stuff like that. That content, they don't get 230 protection on because that's them publishing.
Right.
But all your content, for instance, Joe, they get 230 protection because they're not publishing. Now, if you say something against their terms of service, that doesn't have anything about them controlling you. They're controlling what's on their platform. We don't want that on our platform. So I don't think them saying there's certain content, like for instance, somebody brought the KKK, that we don't want the KKK on our platform. That automatically means they should give free speech to everybody. I just don't think there is a consistency in it because it's contextualized. Contextualized is this is the type of stuff we want on this platform. And if you are to put it, just follow these rules, and then you can say whatever you want within this box.
And I'd like to build on a point that Nate was raising, which is the idea that what YouTube has is similar or analogous to old school real world equivalents. YouTube's ability to control what it publishes or not without being responsible to what it publishes or not is akin to a newsstand or akin to a bookstore, which is not liable for the defamation, for example, that's contained in the books it happens to sell at its bookstore or happens to be in a newspaper that it happens to sell, right? But the newsstand still gets the choice of what periodicals it's going to sell, right? So every newsstand, since it has made choices, I was like, I'm going to distribute these things, not distribute these things for a whole bunch of reasons, right? But the ability to make those choices didn't mean that it was adopting the statements that was contained in books or pamphlets or newspapers or what have you. So what was true for a newsstand, what was true for a bookstore, is now being taken from that context in the internet world and saying, YouTube, you get a choice about what to publish or not, or who to have, what books to have in this equivalent, what channels to have. You get the choice. But your choice to have it or not doesn't mean that you're adopting it for the purposes of defamation. That's Section 230. So in a lot of ways, it's extending what was there in the real world. And if you want to try to make the analogy that YouTube is, or make the argument rather, that YouTube is somehow different in kind because of the scale of the thing, then okay. But there's some underlying principles there that extend to the old school analog world.
Because essentially what you're saying is you're saying I'm taking my book to this and say you have to sell this book. It's like, well, no, I don't. Right? I don't have to sell your book. Well, then you shouldn't get any protection. Like, well, hold on. I get to choose what books I sell, and I just don't want to sell your book. Or you can even look at a book and say, you know what, I don't like the way that book is looking. I'm not going to sell those products.
By the way, folks, this is what you're in for Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Gin Mill.
Oh.
You get to participate in that discussion personally, potentially. A serious question. Aside from platform rule inconsistency, why should there be no consequence for harmful speech on YouTube? Like when yelling fire inside of a theater, that's an old thing. Okay, I'm not going to go into it now. That this is actually an entire full whole
someone
other.
Say fire in a theater, man.
You're allowed to scream fire in a movie.
Let's talk about that.
That's one of the most. You're totally allowed to scream fire.
I know that. I know that's why I said
it happens every day. Every time there's a movie, and every time there's a movie, and on the film, someone says fire. That happens all the time.
And there might be a fire too, because they're like, wait, there's a fire. There's a red orangey thing moving. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
The whole premise for Section 230 protections was the platforms weren't moderating content. That's technically not true. They weren't moderating the content. When they started to moderate is when they got into trouble.
It's 230 explicitly gives you the right to moderate. The whole point.
Yes, I know. That's
and again, this is going back to the case law, and I forget which is which, but there was Prodigy and there was CompuServe, and one of them was moderating and one of them wasn't.
Correct.
And the decision said, well, this platform, which isn't moderating at all, right, is not making choices, so it's not adopting. This platform, which is moderating, is implicitly adopting all the stuff it's allowing.
Moderating, yeah.
That was the case law. That was 230. It's like that came along. And then, of course, my little factoid I like to bring along is the company that was involved on the other end of that when it was Versus was Oakland Strockman. From Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, it was Oakland Strockman was the company that was involved in that lawsuit, which is a hilarious little detail. But because they made choices to moderate, the courts were saying, well, because you made choices to remove this, you must be implicitly adopting everyone else. So Section 230 is very explicitly saying your choices to moderate or not does not mean that you're adopting what's left. So moderation was always built in.
Yeah, because just because I think that point is so important. Section 230 essentially was allowing social media platforms to moderate their content.
Because they couldn't before. Yes.
So it essentially gave an exemption.
Now I've got to step out. So
No worries. We're working on wrapping up anyway. But thank you very much, Rocco.
Yeah.
It was
Thank you.
230.
Great seeing you, Ian.
To everybody who doesn't understand, 230 is an exception to what's known as the repeater rule in defamation.
There you go.
In defamation, if I say something defamatory and then I say it, and then a newspaper picks it up and says it again, that's what's known as the repeater rule. They're just as liable for the defamation as I am.
Or
But-
if one paper publishes it and it gets picked up by the Wire and 10 other papers do it, they can get zinged as well.
Exactly.
Responsible.
It's the repeater rule. So so it was an exemption to the repeater rule for platforms. As long as you moderate your content, you can moderate, but you couldn't publish. And Joe is saying essentially moderation is publishing, but that's what the law took care of. It says no, they're two distinct things. Moderation is this.
That's my point.
But okay, we're not going to circle around because
that's my point.
I think that one thing I hope everyone can agree on, and I think it's true. I think Section 230 should be revisited and explored in the current environment because it was created at a time before we had the algorithmic control and the ability to manipulate and find the content, such as Twitter taking the Hunter Biden laptop and just saying, boom, blanket banning. They did not have that ability back then to do it. So we are in different times. I think it's fair to say that we all need to actually revisit it.
As I mentioned, the companies involved in the lawsuits before 230 was
Are gone.
CompuServe and Prodigy. It
Both
gives you a
gone.
little clue that this is well into Internet 1.0. So things were a little different back then.
Dude, that was Internet 0.5.
Yeah, Internet 1.5. Yeah, back in Internet 1.5. This is pre-AOL. That's how old school we are at this
And most
stage.
Yes.
people don't realize too that we as content creators are also protected by 230.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it protects us also from our content when you people in the chat or even when we have
You
open calls and
degenerates.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks,
Yeah.
on that note, I know everybody's getting restless. I've got another show coming up.
Ooh, look at the logo there. Remember to subscribe.
I like a subtle reminder for everyone. Hey, this is a tiny channel. It's a little news channel. Look at all the big forces. Huh?
You're bringing all this great value and all this legal content and
Yes,
education,
thank you.
disagreement, and debate.
Yes. And it's all over the place, from lawyer firings with Marilyn Manson to Rekieta channel strikes to everything is in its panel. If you like this kind of thing, seriously, I've been doing it a while. And consider subscribing. I think you'll enjoy it. You can always find Joe at Good Logic.
Good logic.
We got
And
Nate.
on locals at goodlogic.locals.com. My good buddy Nate here was telling me I need to push that harder.
Yeah, you
So goodlogic.locals.com. It's free to follow, and at least at the very least you'll know where I am. Like, for example, people on my stream probably would not know that I was here today engaging with these brilliant peers of mine in the field of law, if not for the fact that they saw it, if not on Twitter, on locals. So, and I don't know that everything goes onto Twitter, but on locals, you should be seeing anywhere that I am. So make sure that you follow there, please.
Yep. And NateTheLawyer.locals.com. Also Nate the Lawyer on YouTube. On civillaw.locals.com.
You got it.
Everybody is on locals. So till next time, see ya.
Go.